All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Shem Shai Barakatah. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Brother Kapash.
Yeah, Tazapar.
So, yeah, man. Lord willing, everyone is well. Washing Shai, right? You know, as we see, right, we have, what's it, man? Pentecost, man, coming up, right? We have Pentecost coming up. So, kind of going to touch on the meaning of the feast, right? The tilling of the ground, right? The husbandry, right? The representation of what it, first fruits is about, man. Right? So let's get into that, man. Right? But quick preset, man. Right? So I'm gonna go to the book of Second Ezra's, right? Right? Second Ezra's chapter 9, and we'll start from verse number 1. It says, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So, hey man, we're seeing the signs that are taking place, right? The ground, hey man, it's kind of getting prepared for the harvest, man, right? It's getting prepared. The Most High kind of using the elements, man, right? The spirits, the winds, the east wind, which brings destruction to literally prepare us for the end, man, right? So that's all I'll say, right? We'll pass it to you if you don't know the precept, right?
Yeah, Khan. Yeah, all praises to Bashim Shai. Lord willing, everyone as well, man. Yeah. And if you can get me Deuteronomy, Baba Kashar, Deuteronomy 32 and verse 7. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 7. Yeah, so it reads, remember Deuteronomy 32 and 7. It says, remember the days of old, consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. So, we're commanded to remember the days of old, and consider all the many generations that were before us, because when you go into Matthew, you can see that the lineage from Yahweh Shai goes all the way back to Salakia in Luke, goes all the way back to Adam. Do you know what I'm saying? So we need to consider these generations, man, in order to understand the times that we're in. Like it says, in Second Ezra's, we need to be measuring these times, man, because if you don't know what time period you're in, even like today, like in you don't know what time it is. We've got all phones, clocks, watches, and that. You don't know what time it is. You're getting to work late, like you're pulling up, and you know everything's done already. Even in the world, there's some sense of time.
Right.
So we still need to, remember that. And like it says, you got to ask the Father, man. You got to, that James 1 and 5, you got to ask for that wisdom and ask the elders, man, and they will tell thee. And, so yeah, that's what it is really when it boils down to, the feast of Pentecost, because each feast, like the word feast itself is an appointed time. So everything needs to be um, kept in their season, because if not, then again we'll be going off. We'll be sinning according to the Bible. But Khan, you got it.
I got one more precept as well to add on to that. Right, as the brother said, these are tilling the ground, and the spirit behind Pentecost. Is not, oh yeah, it's like it's a new thing. The Bible is about, it has just tons of agriculture, and we're gonna plant in seeds, sowing seeds, right? What you reap is what you sow. That's agricultural language, man, right? And these are the paths of the old way, right? Because today, what do, man? They got fake machines, right? And they pushing the cows, right? And they pushing the
mm,
chickens and whatnot, right? We need to go back to the old past, man. This is Jeremiah 6 and 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old path, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said we will not walk therein. So our people, they don't want to walk in the old ways, man. They want to walk in the ways of Babylon and what Babylon has promoted, man, and what it gives off, man. They don't want to have the seeds of righteousness sown in their heart, right? They want the seeds of evil and twerking and folly and just madness, man. Like Solomon said, hey, that's vanity, right? They don't want to walk in, okay, well, how did Yahushua, he's a reaper, what he's going to do, right? They don't want to learn about these things, right? They want to, right? They don't want to learn about the old paths, right? They want to learn about the things of the world, right? They want to learn about the things of the world, man, and they neglect, right, the important things, man, right? Knowing, like the brother said about knowing the times, right? The times that are set up and appointed for the feast days to fall in, right? Even understanding the meaning of a dar, right? Even understanding, what month, what feast falls in which month, what time of the year, what season, right? All these things, hey, the Bible tells you the answers, man, right? But can't, right? So all praise to the Most High, man. So, hey, we'll get into it, man, right? So, obviously going into the Feast of Pentecost, man, right? Going into the Feast of Pentecost, man, right? So I'll go to um Leviticus, right, 23, right, and we'll start. See, we have to even start from the top. You can't just, what I'm saying, because like you were saying, Tazbor, right, about even the word feast, right, or right, but we read it, Leviticus 23, and I'll start from 1. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, right? So like it. To speak to the children of Israel and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. So playing upon tables, man, there's, we can get the word feast for that, right, as well, right, in Leviticus 23, right, right, and right, and this is very important, right? These feasts, the meanings of words, right? The husbandry, hey, these things are all important. Anyone that says, okay, no, it's not important, hey, they're going off, right? So let's just say the word feast, right? It said, the word for the word feast, right? Moed, right? As they say in the so-called Jewish language, it says appointed place, appointed time or meeting, appointed time, sacred season. See that? So right now in the time of and really every month is a sacred season, right? You can see it. You have, the beginning of the year, you have, which is a bib, right? You have a bib. You have different months. You have Adar, right? And yes, these names, some of these names, they're not Hebrew names, right? The feasts, right? That were appointed, they were numerical, right? So it's a sacred season, set feast, appointed season, appointed meeting, appointed place, appointed signal, or sign, or tent of meeting, right? So, and just a quick point on that, right? So showing that the months, the seasons, they were numerical. It wasn't okay. This is the first, right? This is January, right? So look, this is Genesis, right? For example, Genesis 2 and verse 2. And on the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. So they didn't say, okay, this is Saturday, right? This is Saturday. No, it was the seventh day, right? And even again, right, showing you the months. The months, they were literally set in what? They were numerical, right? They were numerical. But again, we used and adopted the names of these Babylonian, right, and literally Babylonian, or the other nations, and use that as identifying markers for what the times of the year, the times of the months, right? We use these things, right? It says Esther 8 and 12, and upon it says upon one day in all the provinces of King Azorus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month. So it's numerical, which is the month Adar, right? So the 12th month, Adar is used to what? Identify the 12th month. It doesn't mean it's a pagan day, right? So again, these feast days, they had their appointed times, right? But can't. You got a preset, Ken? I'll pass it.
Yeah, can't. Just to add on as well, like you said, it's like each month is numbered. So like throughout the whole year, from day one to 360, it's all numbered, but it's just giving months as references, just so that we know where we're at. Like I would think, people saying about months and that, it doesn't really we there's Hebrew words for months, and then there's also like Babylonish words, and Assyrian, I believe. So yeah, that's why we count really, because even the fact that there's a book called Numbers, it's like we need to be good at counting still. Personally, I wasn't great at maths, but hey, I know 12 add 12 is 24. You know what I'm saying? And 12 times 12 is 144.
See
But
that?
yeah, so we have to have a basic understanding of the counting. And if you can get me Deuteronomy, Baba Kushar, Deuteronomy 16 and verse 9. Deuteronomy 16 and verse 9.
Mm.
So it reads, 7 weeks shall thou number. Yeah, Salakia. So Deuteronomy 16 and 9. It says, 7 weeks shall thou number unto thee, begin, Salakia, to number the 7 weeks from such as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. So when we number these weeks from the Passover, the Sabbath, I believe it's during, we have to number these seven weeks, and it's when we begin to put the sickle to the corn. So like again, we need to have understanding of what that's going into as well. Sickle would be like a tool that you would use to gather up your crop. Even corn, it doesn't actually mean corn there. It's talking about like a
Yes.
standing grain. So yeah, that would be your sickle. When you start look, and even there bottom left with the guy.
Uh,
So yeah, that's what that's going into. And at that time, that would be the barley harvest, which is around Passover. So from there, that's when we count them the weeks. So if you can go to verse 10 as well, Baba Khashar. So, verse 10, it says, and thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto Yahweh thy God with a tribute of a free will offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto Yahweh thy God, according as Yahweh thy God have blessed thee. So, when it comes down to it, just like it says later on in the chapter about the 3 times that males are supposed to go to Jerusalem, you can't appear empty. So you need to give a free will, which the Most High has blessed you with. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you know what you're giving is like that would be your tithes in these times. But even now we don't have an actual temple or priest to actually offer up these offerings, so it's totally different now. So it's not a physical thing, it's more spiritual. And just if you can just get me a Baba Kushar, Exodus 25 and verse 1. Exodus 25 and verse 1. So we need to bring an offering to the Most High you know, because that's what this really is all about. Your first fruits would be your first crops, really, you know. Exodus 25 and verse 1. The water. So it says, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel that they bring me an offering, every man that giveth it willingly with his heart, ye shall take my offering. So, you know, when you come before the Most High, you got to be giving willingly. You can't be turning up thinking that, you know, because that's given, you know, I'm sure there's a precept on that. That's given with a covetous, a wicked mind. You know, you need to be willingly given these offerings, because you wouldn't have the first of your fruits and all your crops if it wasn't for the Most High blessing you anyway. You know, so yeah, you got it, King.
And even on that point, right? You know, you don't want to. You're just trying to offer up sacrifices any and everywhere, man. Right? You don't want to have that spirit like a Saul, man. Right? He was off. Right? He just okay. I need to. Right? Let me just offer up a sacrifice. Right? Who the hell? Right? Who told him to do that? Right? Who told him? No one told him to do that. Right? Samuel told him, "Hey, wait 7 days." Right? It's the book of First Samuel, chapter 15, right, and verse number. Oh, there's plenty, right? First Samuel, chapter 15, right? Salakia, right? Where's that? Salakia, right? Precept part 1, where it literally tells you, hey, obedience is better than sacrifice, man. Right? Obedience is better than sacrifice. Right? Thinking, okay, well, I need to sacrifice something. Hey, the Most High told you, hey, well, Saul was told by Samuel, hey, listen, you don't need to be doing all of that, right? So this is the book of First Samuel, chapter, I believe it was 13, right? Right, first, let's see. Right, there we go. See how there. First Samuel 15, and I'll start from verse. Yeah, see that? I was there. All praises. This First Samuel 15 and verse 22. It says in Sam, so because they were gonna try and bring the victuals and you know the garments and the chief things that were destroyed, right, of the Amalekites who is walking and are walking the earth today, right? And this is gonna happen again, right? And they the Most High said, look, we don't need all of that. Don't just burn all of that, right? Just in short. So this is First Samuel 15 and 22. And Samuel said, have the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord. Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. So like the brother said, the sacrifices now, right? Brother's in the garden, he's hacking at the damn neck of the sheep, right? Saying, oh yeah, this is my first fruit, right? It's the, you know, hey, it's better to obey. Because firstly, hey, like the brother said, hey, you need to have what a Levite, man, right? A Levite to really conduct your, and he has to prove his lineage, right? So again, you want to be willing in bringing in obedience rather than sacrifice, man, right? You don't want to be constrained. Okay, someone constrained me to be here. Hey, that's off, right? You want to be of a sincere and willing heart, man, right? To be a part of, you know, this knowledge and this truth, man, right? This is Philemon 1 and verse 14. It says, but without thy mind would I do nothing, that thy benefit should not be as it were of necessity, but willingly. So we should want to be, you know, keeping these feasts, man. Wanting to be learning and understanding why obedience is better than sacrifice, man. Right? And people so-called, you know, Pentecost church, they do ask them if they keep this, man. Right? But right? I digress, man. Let's go. Let's get into it now, man. Right. So you know, again, and you can read like the brother brought out in Deuteronomy 16, the second law, right? You have the law covers like you'll see it might say the same in Leviticus. It's the same thing in Deuteronomy. Say same thing in Exodus, right? It covers these things, man. And we're a stubborn people, man. So the Most High he repeated it again and again and again, right?
Uh,
So this is Leviticus 23, and I'll start from verse 4. It says, "These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons." Right? And on the channel, the brother went into going into the feast seasons, right? The harvest, the barley harvest, right? The latter rain, the former rain, right? These things, that's important. You got to know these things, and that will help you understand why certain feast days are where they are in the calendar, right? Or in the time we see, because obviously Esau he's jammed up the understanding. You got 27 days, 29 days, 29.56 days pi squared and whatnot, right? But right, let's jump down. It says going to verse number 9, right? Start at verse 9. This is Leviticus 23 and 9. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest." So like the brother was going into, you go to the priest to do that, man, right? You'd have to go and bring your offering. That would let me get a precept on it, right? This is literally Leviticus. Well, I might keep this verse because we're probably going to go to that. So it's Leviticus 2, right? And you would conduct an offerings. I give that to the priest. So it's Leviticus 2, right? And I'll start from verse 1. It says, "And when any will offer a meat offering," and I say, it's chicken, right? "And when any will offer a meat offering unto the Lord, his offering shall be of see that fine flour." Like the brother's going into, he said about, like people say it's corn, right? It's grains, right? "And he shall pour oil upon it and put frankincense thereof," because that's that sweet savor, right? Or savor rather. And let's get that as well. What it says for that meaning of meat, right? Because we have to understand these things. Otherwise, you're just gonna say, okay, it's meat, right? And you're ruining the offerings, man. So, right. So see that it says grain offering, right? And at times, you literally had like a lamb that was sacrificed, or goat, or clean animals that was I have no pork, man. That was right. We had a clean animal, even pigeons, right? You read Leviticus 5, it tells you about that, right? But it's going into grains, right? So, that's what that is. We're reading on, it says, verse 2, "And he shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, right? And he shall take there out his handful of flour thereof, and of the oil thereof, with all the frankincense thereof, and the priest shall burn the memorial of it upon the altar to be an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord." So that's that sweet smell, man, really representing the prayers, like you read in Revelation 8, right? So going back to it now, you know, and there's a lot to just dissect from this verse itself, right? So, it says, "Ye shall reap the harvest," right? And well, I'll pass that because I know you probably got some stuff on the harvest, man. I know you got some stuff on the harvest. I'll let you get into it.
yeah, can't. So yeah, this is talking about the first fruits, isn't it? So, but obviously, when it says, "When ye shall reap the harvest thereof," and then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. Yeah, that's talking about the. I believe that's talking about the barley harvest. Yeah, I believe, because that would have been your first fruits that come up of on the fields, basically, because that's when you would count now, because even when you go into, I think it's Exodus, I think it's 9, Exodus 9, I believe, where it talks about the barley. Yeah, if you can get that box shot, Exodus 9. I think it's like 32 or something like that. Yeah,
Uh,
31. So it says, and the Exodus 9:31 says, and the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in ear, and the flax was bold, but the wheat and the rye were not smitten, for they were not grown up. So this is around the time of the Passover. So obviously, this would have been your first fruits, the barley, but then the wheat harvest would have been the time of the first fruits as well. So that would have been your sheaf as well, that you would have wrapped up and then gave it to the priest to basically wave for the offering.
wave offering.
Yeah, can't. And you had to give it willingly, because you know even down to like when you came into a land, can you get me what's it get me what's it Leviticus 19 and verse 23.
Mm,
Leviticus 19 and verse 23.
mm,
Yeah, because there's laws in everything. The land had a Sabbath, you
mm,
know, and even here, like, so it's like Leviticus 19 and verse 23 says, and when ye shall come into the land and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be uncircumcised unto you; it shall not be eaten of. So even when you lay down your first crops and that in the land that is appointed to you, the first 3 years the fruit is uncircumcised, so you can't even eat of that. That's and then obviously when you read on in 2024 in the Baba Kashar, it says, but in the fourth year all the fruit shall be holy to praise the Lord withal. So the fourth year, again, that's that number four as well, being a completion vibe. That's when all the fruit thereof will be holy unto the Most High. So if you can read 25 as well, so it says, and in the fifth year shall ye eat of the fruit, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am Yahweh your God. So even then, like when you did plant your seeds and that, you need, like if you just come into a land, you would need to give it 4 years, literally, before you could even, and on the fifth year is when you could eat, and then that's when the Most High would give you your increase. So there's all sorts of laws of the land, like even the Sabbath as well. The fact that every 7 years there's a land Sabbath, and you need to let the land rest, and whatever it yields, that's it. Do you know what I mean? You don't prune it, you don't harvest it. Do you know what I mean? And even the Jubilee as well, which is another count of 50. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's 49 years plus the one. So that's seven years as a Sabbath. Do you know what I'm saying? So, all these laws are actually things that we need to remember and come back to. I mean, I know we're in captivity right now and we don't own our lands and that, but these are fundamental laws on how to be with your neighbor, really. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's really, and not just that, it's the Most High as well. Because when you're planting crops and that, like it says in what's it? If you can get me First Corinthians 3 and verse 6.
sure.
First Corinthians 3 and verse 6. Like none of this is from our own hands. That's when you start going off. You know what I mean? When you start thinking that it's your own hands that have given you all this. So First Corinthians 3 and 6, it says, I have planted, Apollo watered, but the Most High gave the increase. So we always need to remember that. And that's why there was even a law about tithes as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Going back to even Abraham. Abraham gave his
Mm,
tenth of his increase, just to reverence, you know what I mean? And it's just a righteous law that's been from the beginning. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you got it, King. You got it.
Can't. Select. Right, can't, man. And like the brother said, hey, man, this, the whole, when you read the Bible, man, it tells you about sowing, right, the planting, right? Not, never I said planting, right? But the planting of the, seeds, right? Because essentially, and obviously Paul is in First Corinthians 3, and is he talking, oh yeah, he literally put water down, right? Or he threw seeds down, and Apollo, he came and he put water. No, right? This is a spiritual sense, man, right? Because again, we're sowing, right? Even reading the scriptures, when you read the scriptures, what's happening, man? The word is what? Being sown in your heart, right? And let's get that, right? Let me see if I have a tab for that. Right, maybe here, right? What is sowing, right? What is sowing seeds, right? Because that's what it's going into, sowing, right? It means when you sow seeds, and these Christian pastors, man, right? For many years they've been using, oh, you have to sow your seed, you have to sow your seed, right? And they'll use some witchcraft and say, okay, now people start pulling out money that they never even knew they had, to like 10 grand, and right, sowing seed, I really, right, it's going into well, we know in the time of Pentecost, and we are agricultural people that have been literal, and in a time of Paul, when he's saying about the word being sown, or him watering or planting rather, hey, it's about, that's the spiritual side of it. So it says sow seeds means to plant seeds in the ground so they can grow. So it says, in a figurative, non-gardening sense, it means to do something that will cause a specific effect, good or bad, to develop in the future. For example, sowing of seeds, so see that, and that's how, Lord willing, we get into it when you read the Matthew 13s, right, the Mark 4s, right. It tells you on, how good, there's the bad sow, there's good sowing and there's bad sowing. Right? For example, sowing seeds of doubt means doing or saying things to make people question something, and that's Satan, right? So let's read that, right? How, right? Satan, and he comes and he does the same thing, man. Right? This is the book of Mark, chapter 4 and verse 3, right? It says, hearken, behold, there went a sower to slack it, hearken, behold, there went out a sower to sow, right? And that's for planting of seeds, right? It says, and it came to pass as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the fowls of the air came and devoured it up, man. And the fowls of the air, right? So the eagles, man, right? The birds, the pigeons, right? They will come and devour the things that are not, like when we brothers will, be at camp, sisters putting up posts and doing that. Hey, there's fowls that are lurking to do what, man? To literally take up and devour the seeds that we sow, man. Right? It literally tells you, right, in Revelation 18 and 2, right? I'll read it quickly and then I'm going to jump back to Leviticus. It says, Revelation 18 and 2, it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, behold, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every clean and hateful bird. Right? So, hey, right, birds, they look, wait for the opportunity, right? And they will, whatever type, whether it's a clean bird or unclean bird, they'll swoop down and then they devour and take whatever the hell they want, right? So that's how even the word being sown now, right? Sown in your heart, right? Lord willing, we'll go back to Mark 4, Matthew 13, Lord willing, get into that, right? But the word, hey, your first fruit, right? We sow seeds, man, into people's minds when we teach the word, right? When you put in precepts up or you explaining this, that's sowing a seed, right? But nonetheless, right, let's go back to that in Leviticus, right? As a brother, and again, there's, right, I think maybe I'll let you go into that, like the barley and this, right? Because these things, you have to know them, man. If you don't know them, you're not going to understand, right? You're not going to understand what Pentecost is really going into, right? And we know that there's double to that, which is, like it says in Job 11 and 6, man, right? But nonetheless, right, Leviticus, and really, right, slowly but surely we'll get into it, right? But again, Leviticus 23 and verse 10, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, when ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest, right? And let's just put that in as well, right? Because hey, there's so many things I've even myself I'm astounded to even know about. There's harvest moons, right? There's many things, man, right? So look, so harvest time refers to the season when ripened crops are gathered, reaped, and stored, right? Most most commonly associated with autumn, it marks the culmination of the agriculture year when farmers bring in essential food supplies before the winter, right? Let me be more specific, right? So let's see what it says. So it says harvest time refers to the physical gathering of crops, as well as spiritual significant. I want the literal meaning, right? I want the yeah, and that's beautiful because the harvest represents the end of the world, right? People that Christ is gonna come and harvest, and they're excited. Hey, you should be shaking in your boots, right? I can't wait for the harvest. Hey, right? That harvest, it's gonna be spectacular, right? So let's go back to it, right? So again, and even that being said, a sheaf, right? It can be represented as men, right? Sheaf, it can be represented as men, right? We have to understand that, man, right? Look at Joseph, right? He said, I see your sheaf, and he bowed down to him, and they were kind of hating on him. What the hell? What do you mean by that? And then they sold him to the Ishmaelites and the Egyptians, man. Right? This is Genesis chapter 37 and verse 6. It says, and he said unto them, here I pray you this dream which I have dreamed. And remember, Joseph, he interpreted dreams, right? It says, for behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf, meaning they kind of reverenced him, bowed down to him. And that literally happened because when they came into Egypt, right? Because Joseph, he was captive in Egypt. What happened? Right? They kind of bowed. They kind of bowed down to him, man, because he was and he was a top finesser. That he was a top finesser because he gave Israel, right, Goshen. See, Goshen, India, right? He gave Israel the land of Goshen, and that was the most what's the word? Fertile land, right? So let's see that it says the land of Goshen, right? It says in northeastern Egypt, right, where the Israelites settled. It says this area provided excellent pasture for the livestock. Over centuries, the Israelite population flourished there, but they were later enslaved by subsequent pharaohs and forced into hard labor. So that land, though, was prosperous. That land, the land of Goshen, was a prosperous place. So that was, and that's his first fruits, man. That's the best out of all the land, right? The land of Goshen was fertile, right? Let's put fertile. Yeah, see that? The land of Goshen was historically renowned as one of the most fertile areas in Egypt, right? It had a nutrient-rich topsoil and abundant water, making it a lush haven for agricultural and raising livestock, right? For agriculture and raising livestock, so if you didn't, point being that sheaf, right? Again, going back to Joseph and how his brothers they would bow down to him, right, and reverence him because he saved them. He gave them the best land, right? He finessed them. He finessed the Egyptians. Say, look, hey, look, this we need that, right? And they took that, right? They took that because they didn't know what to do with that, right? So again, a sheaf can represent men, right? So again, you're again we are like sheaf, man, right? We are like sheaf, and we can't come with like the brother was saying, man. You can't come with just any and anything, man. It has to be the right thing, right? Brother saying, oh, you haven't left the Old Testament. Hey, you kind of got to get into it, man. Right? Right. So this is Genesis chapter 4, and I'll start at verse number 4. And I'll start 3. I'll start, see, you got, and Genesis 4 and 2. It says, and she bare again Abel his brother, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And this is deep, right? Because Esau, and Lord willing, we get to that. His blessing, so called, was the fat of the land. But Abel, he was a keeper of sheep, man. Right? You should think about precepts. Okay, the sheep, the lost sheep, the house of Israel, right? Christ, the shepherd. You should think about his precepts, right? Why wasn't Abel the tiller of the ground? Hey, that's his lot. His lot was the keeper of the sheep, right? That's very spiritual. Showing you the Most High. Hey, there's one. Every nation or people, they have an allotment, man. Look, and that's I said an allotment, because if you're from the UK and you know what an allotment is, right? You see that an allotment, right? Right, not to be too right. Allotment, right? An allotment. See that now they're looking for it, right? Is a small land, right, for growing fruits, right? And you can find these in London, man, right? All over the UK, right? Everyone has an allotment, right? But going back to the point, it says Genesis 4 and 3, and in process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord, right? But you can't just bring, just any and everything. Hey, it has to be the first, right? And he thought, yeah, that's good enough, right? It's not about feelings, it's about what the Most High literally commands, right? And they knew. How do you think they knew about this? The law, man. Again, showing you the oral transmission of that law unto Adam's sons, right? So reading on, it says, and Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the fat is what? The best bit, right? Just like Goshen, that's the best, the land in Egypt, or one of, a renowned area in Egypt, right? That's what the fat is. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. So he brought the firstling, right? It says, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And that's Esau for you, right? Oh, it's not good enough, right? He's upset, and he starts thinking about how he's gonna poison your land, right, and put ticks all in your land, right? And say, yeah, and damn, all these damn spraying stuff in the air, man. Now your flowers bending like that, right? But you put that water, right? So yeah, he plotted, man. But Khan, you got it, King.
Yeah, even going back into the offering and that, like, he didn't say he offered. He didn't even say he offered the first fruits either. He just
Right,
said he offered the fruit. You know what I'm saying? The fruit. There is it. Yeah, that came brought of the fruit of the ground. Like, and he's already been taught by Adam that,
right.
what I mean, like that. The Most High requires blood. You know what I'm saying? He requires blood. For an offering. So that's again that pride. Do you know what I'm saying? That's that pride of that spirit that's still here today, like with Esau, pride. But yeah, so a couple things when you was going into like the end as well of the harvest, the harvest, like, meaning in the end, that's very spiritual as well, because even it says it's usually around the autumn time when everyone all the farmers and that bring in their crops before the winter. You know what I mean? Because that's when the raining season comes. Yeah, but even then, that's spiritual as well, because even the autumn's just after the summer, and the
Mm,
summer is judgment time. You see what I'm saying? So even like when it comes to the heat of the day and the affliction and
So,
judgment is all gonna be yeah, go ahead, in the summertime. Do you see what I'm saying? So go on, you got that.
and this is Jeremiah 14:2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
Yeah, Khan. So yeah, the gates of Judah, they're languishing and they are black onto the ground. Like obviously that's not actually talking about, like them being a color, the color black and that, but it's talking about, the mourning
Mm,
and after the affliction that's come. You see what I'm saying? So even at the end of the harvest being after summer,
mm,
that's all spiritual as well. That's like even when I was going into on that lesson about the seasons as well, as because we don't hear spring in the Bible, we don't hear autumn, we just hear summer, you know what I mean, and winter. Like we hear sowing time, like and harvest, But yeah, that's Job 30:30. It says, "My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat." Just showing that affliction after, because even I believe Jonah as well. Like when if you can get me that one, Bob Khashar, Jonah, because that's a good one as well, where it talks about the heat as well. I think it's the last chapter. So like this is Jonah chapter 4, Jonah chapter 4 and verse 8. It says, "And it came to pass when the sun did arise, that the Most High prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat upon the head of Jonah, that he fainted and wished himself to die, and
mm,
said, It is better for me to die than to live." Again, that's going into that affliction when the sun comes, man. Because obviously too much sun as well, like it says in the parable of the sower as well, when if the root don't take up a good depth of the soil, then it will be scorched with heat you know and going back to as well the Nile as well flooding, and how the Goshen was a perfect land. Like every year the Nile flooded annually, which made the with the riverbanks like fertile. So
mm.
again, like you're saying, Joseph did finesse the Egyptians. When it came to like bringing in. That's why they flourished. That's why it says in even Exodus 1, how the more they were afflicted, because they weren't even getting afflicted at this time. So imagine how much they were prospering. So then, even when they started getting afflicted, they prospered even more. That's just showing Jake, man. Jake and
Quick,
Eve in. Go on, go on.
quick point, like you said about the land of Goshen. When you go into that's the whole area, literally, But obviously, that's why there's an area called the Fertile Crescent, and it flourished. These areas, these people say, "Oh, Africa, Africa." Yeah, Africa, is, but this is the cradle of civilization, right? And they weren't what the people look like today. They were of melanation. They were dark skinned people, right? This region, right, is where civilization would have been. And when you see that, there's rivers. That's how trade and all these things would have been, seeds being planted. You need water to do these things, man.
That's
You
it. That's it.
you got it, so that.
Yeah, I think I got a little precept on that as well. Joshua, oh, for sure. Joshua chapter 3. Joshua 3, 3 and verse 15. I'll start at. Joshua 3 and verse 15. It says, "And as they that bear the ark will come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks at the time of harvest. showing that just like the rain, how the rain will come in the early and the latter, just to give that the crops a good feeding before it's harvest time. Even the rivers, the river Nile, the river Jordan, they would overflow their banks around harvest time. And again, that's going into the seasons and the agriculture, because it's all of the Most High. Let me give me Deuteronomy, Baba Kashar, Deuteronomy. Let me get Deuteronomy 11 and verse 13. So Deuteronomy 11 and verse 13, it says, "And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yahweh your God, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in his due season, the
Mm,
first rain and the latter rain, and that thou mayest gather in thy corn and thy wine and thine oil, and I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full." So again, showing you, if we listen diligently unto the Most High, like
mm,
Joseph was listening diligently. Therefore, he blessed him. Therefore, the Most High blessed Joseph in order for him to withstand the famine, to bring his family in, and for them to prosper in the land. Do you know what I mean? So all these things are gifts and blessings that the Most High gives if you keep in the commandments. And if you carry on, verse 15, no, verse 16, it says, "Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them." Like thinking like what I was saying earlier, that your own hand got this. You put the seeds in the ground, you had a good sowing, you plowed the field good, you know, they come up on good ground, and then you start forgetting the fact that it was the Most High that actually gave you that increase.
right.
And in verse 17 it says, "And then the Lord's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, unless ye perish quickly off the good land which the Lord giveth you." And we see that, man. We see that. Like, you look at the maps, like you know, when you look at the map on Egypt, the north part of Egypt, yeah, all around there it's desolate. It's desolate. But the further up you go, it's probably better than when you go down to like in the middle part of Egypt. And it's showing you that the Most High has shut up the heavens in that land. The fruit don't yield out there. It's hard to grow, even in Saudi Arabia and them Arab countries there, like 80% of their fruits and grain and that are imported. Do you know what I'm saying? Because they can't grow anything out there. So it's showing you that the Most High, He's shut up the heavens in these places, because obviously it's the wicked, isn't it? But you got it, King. You got it.
Can't. And even on that point, like the brother's saying, hey, that's real, man. Because um, in Saudi Arabia, right, they use drones, right, to make it rain. Right, they use drones to make it rain. And if they do that over there, what do you think they're doing here,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? They do
Gone.
that. Them drones are probably tiny, right? God knows how big they are, but it says Saudi Arabia has officially expanded its national cloud seeding program to include the use of unmanned drones to stimulate rainfall. See that? So they'll get these drones, throw them up in the sky, right? So look what they do, man. But people say, okay, you guys, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. They can put, right, some little ship in the air to make it rain because it's so hot here or what over there. What the hell do you think that these people here in this country that they do? Look, right, deployed. Look, see that? So they're kind of trying to manufacture the ground. It says China deployed rain-making drones across deserts, turning sands into forest. See that? So at the Arab man, right? They'll electrocute the clouds, and then it makes it rain, right? So that's real. It's proper Baptist, man, right? But nonetheless, man, right? Let's go back to it, right? So the best land, right? That's really going into, right? That your first fruits, right? And even that, man, right? Just to get a word on it, right? Is it? It's not apples and pears, right? Right? It's not apples and pears. See that? So again, first fruits is just the best, right? So the first fruit, it says that word there, recit or reshith. See that? And that's the spirit, because the sheath, right? We've already searched that up. It says the first, beginning, best, or chief, or choice part. So I'll read that precept as well. It says Deuteronomy, what's this? 16 or 18, right? Deuteronomy 18 and 4. It says, see that, and that the brother was saying about the tithes, right? Because the Levite, he didn't have an inheritance, right? So people, the other tribes, and they would give what, man? They'd give their fruit. See that, the fruit spirit. They'd give their grains, or the crops that they would have grown, right, and given them to the Levites, right? So it says, I'm a look. See that, I'll read that. We have to read this now, right? Deuteronomy 18, starting at 1. It says the priests, the Levites, and there's a difference between a priest and a Levite, right? A Levite is not directly a priest, right? You're only a priest if you come from the lineage of Aaron and his sons. It says the Levites and all the tribe of Levi. So see that, it shows the separation. Shall have no part nor inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the offerings of the Lord made by fire and his inheritance. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance, as he hath said unto them. So their inheritance, they don't have, when you look at the 12 tribes map, which is a very minute scale of what the maps actually would be, right? They don't have, okay, the tribe of Levi. The tribe of Levi, right, or they would be amongst the tribes, man. I believe they had 7 or 6, maybe 6 cities, right? When you read Numbers, where chief cities, that's going into this, those 6, I believe, cities, they're going into the cities that if somebody had killed someone, they would escape to that place, right? So, and then throughout the other tribes, the Levites would dwell amongst them. It says, verse 3, and this shall be the priest due from the people, from them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be ox or sheep, and they shall give unto the priest the shoulder and the 2 cheeks and the more, right? The fruit also of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thy oil, and the first of thy fleece of thy sheep shall thou give him. See that? So he again, he's, it's like I won't say like you have certain animals, right? Because we're being agricultural, they work together, right? Like, for example, a whale, right? What are the things on a whale, right? This is spiritual, man. You see that? You got barnacles, right? You got barnacles, right? Being in the elements and whatnot. And these barnacles, and they're not just sitting and they're chilling, right? They're actually doing something, man, right? Barnacles, right? So it says they're crustaceans that attach themselves to the whale's skin. They get a free ride, rich water to feed, while whales use them as natural armor. See that? It says, then you have another one, whale lice, right? They crawl around on the whale's skin, and barnacles, they're mutually beneficial because they eat dead skin. You see that? So, not saying, that's what the Levites are, but they would be, like in and around the other nations, man, right? Just to kind of point that out, right? But nonetheless, right? So back to Leviticus, right? 3, right? So back to Leviticus 23, right? So again, the count, right? Let me see. You pull up a calendar, right? I can pull up a calendar, maybe it might name, I don't know. Let's see. Right. So I don't know why it's so small there, right? But we can use that. So let's try this one. So this is right. So the word as well, just for those that may not know, you have the word Pentecost, right? These toe adverts, bruv. Right? You got the word Pentecost, right? Which is Israelite, right? This is an Israelite festival, feast day on the seventh. See that? Right? The seventh Sunday after Easter. It's making it up, man. But after the Passover, right? It says the word pent, obviously meaning 5, right? Like pentagram, right? Pentagon, 5-sided shape, right? It says the Greek is Pentecoste, meaning hemra or 50th, right? It says 50, that's what it goes into. It says that's it says the Hellenic. So it's showing you that the Israelites were Hellenized, right? An Israelite festival observed on the 50th day, right? So why is that? It's on the 50th day, right? Let me see if I got that right. Right, so that, yeah, that's it. Leviticus 23 and 15. So this is going into, the Pentecost. It's read verse 10, right? And all when we'll jump back to these verses, right? So Leviticus 23 and 15, it says, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So when we go back to the calendar, right? The Passover falls, the Feast of Pentecost falls on May the 23rd at sundown, right? So that's basically so-called 24th. Well, you understand what I'm saying. Saturday the 23rd at sundown. You would count the 7. So if we go back, we count going back, right? Go 1, right? That's 1 Sabbath. 2, it's 3, right? So that's the 2nd of May, right? And we going back, that would be, I believe that's here, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And if for those that are in WFI, that's the time Passover, I believe, landed. I believe it was the Wednesday, that 1st of April, right? So that's 7 Sabbaths, and that's, you would add 1, and that makes it. That's the add 1, and that makes it, because 7. What's the word, man? Right, that makes it 49, and then plus the 1 to give you the 50, right? Which is why it lands on the 20, so-called 24th, right? But again, 23rd at sundown is the start of the actual next day, right? So, can't, and that's again 7 weeks, and we know 7 being a number of completion, right? And let's get right, get another one, and then I'll pass it. So this is Deuteronomy 16 and verse number. Start from verse 8. It says 6 days, right? Yeah, I'll start from 8. So Deuteronomy 16 and 8, 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. So that's going into Passover, right? The Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is the same thing, right? The Passover is just the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is verse 9. 7 weeks shall thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. Right? So you would number then those 7 weeks. leading up to, that's the seven Sabbaths, the 50 days, right? The 49 days plus the 1 day to make it 50, right? And that would be uh the time of Pentecost, man. Right. And the time of Pentecost, hey, that wasn't just everyone kept that, man. Right. The people, they kept that, right? They were gathered together. Right. So this is Acts 2, the classic, man. We all know about Acts 2, right? Acts 2 and 1. It says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. So hey, all the Israelites, right? And I believe a brother sent, he sent something about this, man. Right? I think it was Sapir. He sent yeah, Israelites coming to Jerusalem for Pentecost. Right? Let's see if because it will show you the different places. Yeah, you see the whole places. Right? So this shows you Israelites, they weren't scattered. Guys are being concisely dumb. Right? Now they want the cookies, bro. All this just to look at a picture. Madness. See, now they start showing adverts, man. Look, see? Madness. Where's the picture, man? All right, all praises. Madness. Right? So we don't even need this side. So look, showing you, and we're not willing, we go into it. So Jerusalem, right? Ooh, like the Israelites came out of their lands, right? That they were captive in. Right? Rome, Asia, and that's Asia Minor. This is what Asia Minor would be, right? The different places Paul went to, right? Phrygia, Pamphylia, Cappadocia, Pontus, Mesopotamia, Parthia, Media, right? What's it, Media, right? Which is going into the Medes, Elam, Arabia, Judea, Egypt, Cyrene, and that's really a region of Africa. You say, I'm African. You're not from this tiny place here, right? And Crete, right? So they will all come together, and we'll read on. It says, and suddenly and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And a wind type have a representation, have different representation. Remember, we read about the east wind. The east wind, it brings judgment. Some winds, they bring a balance, right? So reading on, it says, and there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them, right? And this map, yeah, if you don't know, it should help you understand the whole point of speaking in tongues. It's people from different lands. It's very simple, right? That's it, like, right? And they were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So they're speaking other languages. Because when you go into Genesis 10, that's the first use, I believe, of the word tongue, right? Or tongues, right? You can't just say, okay, now it's some magical Rangala language, bro. Right? So it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Right? So the every nation, well, they were and again, this was the cradle of civilization. This is where the events were mainly taking place, right? In that fertile crescent region, right? And then the Israelites would then obviously further, scattered to other lands, right? But Khan, you got it.
Yeah, just a quick thing on that one as well, on the Acts. Like when you read it in the NIV, yeah, the NIV, Acts 2 and verse 5, it says, now there were staying in Jerusalem God-fearing Jews from every nation under heaven. Verse 6, when they heard this sound, a crowd came together in the bewilderment because each one heard them speaking in his own language.
Simple.
So, like, it's like sometimes I know, like, we don't always go to these other translations, but it's like sometimes it gives a bit more clarity. Sometimes it's off, but sometimes like this makes sense to the KJV. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
But yeah, no, flipping. Yeah, so going back to the Deuteronomy, if you can get me Deuteronomy, yeah, Baba Kashar, Deuteronomy 16. I know you just went there. I just wanted to carry on the last part as well. So Deuteronomy 16 and 16. So Deuteronomy 16 and verse 16. It says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So again, now when you go back to these 3 feasts, they are to do with the times, the seasons, and the harvest. You know, because you got the unleavened bread, which will be your barley harvest. You got the feast of wheats, which would be your wheat harvest, and then you got your ingathering, which is in tabernacles, which is all the rest that went over through the summer. You know, all the crops that went over through the summer. And it says again, you should not appear before the Most High empty. And just going back to like that, that Acts again. If you go to Tobit as well,
Mm.
showing that even Tobit, like because obviously, even like in Acts, I think it's 8 with the eunuch as well. Like he was the Ethiopian eunuch. He was on his way to Jerusalem to keep the feast. So this we get Tobit 1 and verse 6. Yeah, this is Tobit 1 and verse 6. It says, but I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feast, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of increase with that which was first shown, and them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. Again, going back to how Aaron had to be the ones that put it on the altar, you know what I mean, for the people, and also showing that, you know, it was the tenth as well. The fact that, even like for example, there's a precept
And I got
where
one.
where it talks about if you can't take, because obviously a lot of people were traveling from like far places in it, so they couldn't bring all their offerings like that, so they would sell their offerings for money, and when they get to Jerusalem, they will buy whatever their soul lusteth after. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you get that precept, and I think I'll try
If
and
you,
get.
yeah, if you try and find it, so that's Leviticus. The point of not coming empty-handed didn't mean okay, yeah, you forgot your iPhone, right? Oh, I've got my iPhone. So like you know, you're trying to go to the payphone to find trying to ring someone. Oh yeah, can you, right? It's going into right your 2/10 deals, right?
Mm,
Right. Let's get that in Leviticus 23, and I'll start from verse. Let me see. Let's start from 17. So this is Leviticus 23 and 17. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves
mm,
of 2/10 deals. They shall be, and it tells you what it's supposed to be. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. Right? And you can work that out. You do the maths, right? 2/10 deals, right? Is they call it? I believe it's a I'll jump up to 13, right? It's an hin, I believe, right? Got to do the maths, right? You got to measure, right? So this is Leviticus 23 and 13, and a meat offering, and again, it's not chicken, right? Or the lamb or turkey. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour. That's what the meat offering is. Fine flour. Mingled with oil. An offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savour. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the fourth part of an hin. So that's like about, I think that's like point 0.4, right? Let me see if I, because I got the, you have to have the measurements, man, right? I done the maths on it. It's quite dark. I actually done the math, right? because you have to. Because remember, now you say you can't be off, fam. The measurement's got to be. Now you're saying I bought 10th deals, and they're not taking that, right? Because they remember they know the law. So 2/10 deals, right? So the measure for an hin, right, is 6 years around. Well, that's, let me not be grievous. I will pull it up so we can all learn this together. Right, but I've done the maths on it. Right. So 10th deals, right? 2/10. I think you kind of times it or whatever. All right. See that? 2/10 deals. Are you trying to tell me about Tesco? Right. 2/10 deals. Bible. Right. It's an eighth, so it's a dry measurement. Right. See that? So, which is roughly equivalent to 6 pints or 1 omer. Right. So just give me another challenge. Just how much is that? Right. Just how much is that? Right. So 2/10 deals is equal to 2/10 or 1/5 of an ephah. So in US, that's about 3.5 to 4 US quarts, right? Or 8 cups of fine flour, right? So and then because I have a book with me, right? And in a book, right, it basically explains, right, the different measurements, right? Dry measure, right? It's got the money, the dry measure, the weight, the length, the liquid measure. So you can break it down to work out how much you would have had to bring, right? And it has to be specific. But can't you got it, Ken? Because I'm just
Yeah,
gonna.
no, can't. Just a quick to add on to that, Exodus chapter 30, Exodus 30 and verse 34. It says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Take unto thee sweet spices, stacked and oncha and galbanum, these sweet spices with pure frankincense. Of each shall there be a like weight, and thou shalt make it a perfume, a confection after the art of the apothecary, tempered together, pure and holy." So again, like everything has to be a just weight. Like there's always a measurement for things, even like with like how much water certain plants get, even seedlings, because you can't flood, you can't overwater a seedling, like you'll end up flooding it. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there has to be a fine measure with, like it says in Proverbs 11:1. Let me get that. The Proverbs 11:1. Proverbs 11 and verse 1, and it reads, "A false balance is an abomination unto the Lord, but a just weight is his delight." So yeah, you can't have everything off. Like everything has to be perfectly balanced. You know what I'm saying? Like um in America they got the Statue of Liberty and that them things there. I'm sure like in certain courts and that, yeah, certain courts they have the like the like a the statue, not of that, but then it's on uneven. Look, you see the second one in, it's uneven. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? It's like there's no just way. It's showing you that they're off. Do you know what I'm saying? The whole system is like Esau's system's just off. But yeah, again, the Most High is a just delight. Just way is His delight. So I want to quickly go to like Deuteronomy, going back to like you know, when you'd appear, when you go to Jerusalem, you won't be going empty, because obviously, some people couldn't bring all their offerings on the way. So this is Deuteronomy 12, and I'll start at 20. Deuteronomy 12 and verse 20. And it's this chapter's, some of this chapter's going into about your offerings and how you'd bring it, and you know so Deuteronomy 12 and verse 20, it says, "When the Lord thy God shall enlarge thy border as he hath promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul longeth to eat flesh, thou mayest eat flesh whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. And it's not talking about anything unclean here. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So if verse 21, if the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to put his name there be too far from thee, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and of thy flock which the Lord hath given thee, as I have commanded thee, and thou shalt eat in thy gates whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. So again, it's showing you what the Lord has given you. So your increase is what the Most High has given you. So if it be too far, you're because that even when it says, "And thou shalt what's it kill it," slacker, then thou shalt kill of thy herd and thy flock. Yeah, really, you had to bring it before the Most High. You couldn't just kill a animal and eat it. Everything had to be killed for the Most High. Do you know what I'm saying? You couldn't just go off and start killing something to eat for you. You'd have to give your tenth to the Most High. Do you know what I'm saying? So, even when it says, "Thou shalt kill of the herd of thy flock, which the Lord have given thee, as I've commanded thee, and thou shalt eat in thy gates," because it was too far for you. You couldn't bring it all the way to Jerusalem from, like Asia Minor, or Crete. Do you know what I'm saying? Wherever you are, even like when we go to back to Tobit. Well, no, like, I'll leave Tobit, but going back to Deuteronomy 12 and verse 22. And this is another one where you can, like, obviously it's not saying that you can eat anything that your soul lusteth after. Do you know
Right.
what I'm saying? It's talking about clean, anything clean, like a clean animal. Because some Christians I have heard take this out of context here.
Right.
So 22 it says, even as the roebuck and the hart is eaten, so shalt thou eat them. The unclean and the clean shall eat of them alike, talking about the clean and unclean people. So there'll be people that will be unclean for whatever reason there may be,
Quick
and
point.
they had to eat of the same sacrifice. Go on, you got it.
Quick point. Yeah. Because like you said, like you could and hey, you're early in the truth. Someone could confound you with this precept. Someone could completely now you're sitting there contemplating. Oh, I can eat bacon. I can, bro. Right? All you have to do read it in Hebrew, man, or read it in the Hebrew, or read it in another translation. Right? Look, this is NIV, and then I'll give it back to you. Right? This is Deuteronomy 12 and 22. Eat them as ye would gazelle or deer, both the ceremonially unclean and
Mm,
the clean may eat. Right? Look, read it in the Hebrew. Look, indeed, you may eat it as you would eat a gazelle or deer. Both the clean and the unclean may eat it. So nothing to do with okay, so some you pork, right? So again, it's about look. So again, you may slaughter any of the herd or flock he has given you, as I've commanded you. You may eat it within your gates whenever you want. So
mm.
nothing to do with, but you got it. You got it.
Yeah, no, yeah, for real. So showing you that even, you had to go to Jerusalem, or you had to wherever the Most High's altar was, wherever his name was, that's where you had to present your offering. And if you couldn't, the Most High is giving leeway here, showing you that you can eat it, or you can sell of whatever it is, or you can kill it within your gates and eat of it same way, but it's saying the unclean and the clean shall eat alike. Someone may be clean by, of a dead body. It still means they have to give their sacrifice. Just because someone was unclean, it doesn't mean that they don't give their tenth part. Do you know what I'm saying? That was just the law anyway. So I wanted to go into Psalms now, Psalms 51 and verse 15. Because, or not actually, let me start at Hebrews 10. Hebrews 10. Start at Hebrews 10. Hebrews 10 and verse 5. So Hebrews 10 and verse 5, it says, well, I'll start at 4. You know, this whole thing's like good, really, but just to get to the point. So I'll start at 4. Hebrews 10 and 4, it says, for it is not possible that the blood of bulls and of goats should take away sins. Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me. You know, so, you know, these sacrifices that we used to give like yearly for the Day of Atonement, even down for our sin offerings, for our burnt offerings, you know, we don't have a temple no more, but you know, we know that Christ gave his body for us in one sacrifice so that we can be covered by that blood. But it still means that we still have to keep these feast days. Just because we can't bring an offering, when it says, oh, you know, thou shalt not appear empty, it's not talking about you appearing empty because you haven't got a goat or a sheep to offer up. Do you know what I'm saying? It's talking about, you know, your spiritual sacrifice now, because we know that, you know, we don't give offerings no more, you know, because of that. So I want to go to Psalms 51 and verse 15. Is Psalms chapter 51 and verse 15. So it says, O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offering. So even going back to that Samuel, that first Samuel 15, it says, better to obey than to give sacrifice. So even now that the Most High doesn't delight in burnt offerings, yeah, we need to, like it says in 15, it says, O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. So I'm going to go to Hosea now. Just a few precepts on the fact that, you know, what comes from our lips is a sacrifice and our praise, you know. So this is Hosea chapter 14. Hosea 14 and verse 2, it says, take with you words and turn to the Lord. Say unto him, take away all iniquity and receive us gracefully. So will we render the calves of our lips. So, you know, even what we say, you know, because obviously it says, you know, life and death is in the tongue. You know, what we praise and what we give to the Most High, like through our words and deeds, is the sacrifices that we will be offering to him. Like even says in Hebrews, again, Hebrews 13, Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 15, I believe. Let me see. Hebrews 13 and 15, it says, by him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to the Most High continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So even the fruit of our lips, how we praise the Most High, you know, what we say, what we do, that is what is giving him that continual praise and that sacrifice, you know, that you know, we should be coming to when it comes to these feast days. We shouldn't be appearing empty handed. It doesn't mean physically empty handed, you know, but on the contrary, you know, you don't turn up with nothing in it. You know, everyone has to put in, you know, everyone bring what they can in it. Obviously not everyone's in the same position, you know, financially, you know, but still we all have to give, like it says, like you'll give what you're able, you know, like even when you gave your offerings, you would always give what you were able to give. That's why, you know, the woman that put in the
The bastard, I think it is.
The coin she put in I can't remember what it was called, a farthing or something. I can't remember the coin what it's called, but she gave, like, all the other Pharisees were putting in little bit here, and she gave in all she had. Do you know what I'm saying? Even though she had, and she didn't really have anything, she gave all she had. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the same vibe that we really need to come in with, because like it says in Ecclesiastes 9 and 10, we need to give our all in whatever it is.
Mm.
Do you see what I'm saying? We need to give our all in whatever it is. And yeah, I'll get one more. Psalms chapter 119 and verse 108. So just showing you that really and truly, like, now we don't have offerings and sacrifices to give, but what we say, what we do, is the offering that we give to the Most High. Do you know what I'm saying? This is Psalms 119 and verse 108. It says, "Accept, I beseech thee, the free will offerings of my mouth, O Yahweh, and teach me thy judgments." So yeah, like, what we say is an offering now. Do you know what I mean? So that we have to be wise in what we're saying, how we conduct ourselves, because that is the ultimate sacrifice that we are giving. But yeah, you got it, King.
Can't. And you know, you're right, man. And that's you know, I just a quick one, yeah. That's confessing Christ, right? Essentially. When you confessing Christ doesn't mean you've just, okay, I said it, right? Confessing Christ meaning, yeah, you've confessed. Well, you have to know what's wrong to actually confess Hamashiach Yahushai, right? Because essentially confessing really goes back to confessing, your sin, right? So like the brother was going into terms of speaking, right? It's confessing your sin, right? Real quick. So this is Romans 10 and 9. Then if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that Yahweh have raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. The point is you're confessing. What are you confessing? Right? You're confessing your iniquity, right? You're confessing your sin, right? And again, that should be your first fruit. Confessing what you've done wrong, right? So this is Leviticus 5 and 5. And it shall be when he shall be guilty in one of these things, that he shall confess that he have sinned in that thing. So confession and what we speak and say, hey, that's also, again, that's confessing Hamashiach Yahushua. Because we're saying, hey, we confess our sins, we're not hiding them, whether it's to the Most High or to Barashim Yahushua or to, somebody else. You're saying that, so that sin is not hid, right? Because it's like it says in Proverbs 28 and I believe 13 or 14, hey, if you don't confess, you're not going to prosper, right? So confessing and, like brother saying, going into speaking, hey, that's, essentially being what, right? Again, that's repenting, right? When you confess Hamashiach Yahushua, right? But going back to it, right? Back to Leviticus, right? Leviticus 23, right? Another quick point on that. Because a brother said a key thing. He said, I believe he said something about you'd present it unto the Lord, right? So this is Leviticus, see that 23 and verse 11. And he shall wave the sheaf offering before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. And the sacrifices, we don't have a priest. We know that when you read Ezekiel, right, it tells you about the prince, right? The prince being Yahushua. He's going to be given, doing the sacrifices, man. Right? The Levites, the sons of Aaron, they're going to kind of be getting their groove on, man. Right? So when it says about being presented before the Lord to be accepted, right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, right? Because the sheaf, right, being or the first fruits, that's your best bit, right? The elect, right, they're going to be presented before the Most High, right? This is Revelation 7, and I'll start from verse 4. It says, and I heard Revelation 7 and 4, and it says, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, right, which is the elect, and there were sealed 140 and 4,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. So that's the elect, right? When you jump down to verse number, let me see, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Right, verse 9, it says, and after this, so Revelation 7 and 9, after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds. And we broke this down, right? This is a one third, right? That's the Israelites, and people and tongues, and stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hand. Right, that's at Second Ezra, I believe, 2, right, 40 on down. Right, these are the obviously, remember, you have the ruling body, the 144,000, and within that ruling body you have the 12 apostles, right, and there's gonna be the governors, right, that set up, man, the captains of 1,000, the captain over this, right, will be set up, right, so they're brought before the throne, man, right, of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right, and before the Lamb, right, so, and that's the best bits, right, so what this whole Feast of Pentecost really goes into, right, going into 50 really goes into like reparation or restoration rather, right, and reparation if you want, because you're receiving. Let's see, let's read it, right. It tells you, right, so it says 50 is a symbol of forgiveness of debts, right, that's what, because obviously that's a bit deeper though, but 50, right, believe it went into restoration, right, restoration, right, see that, so there we go, right, we'll read that. So it says it's going into the year Jubilee, which you can read in like as well, Exodus 23 as well as 25. It says refers to restoring balance, reclaiming lost ground, or experience a spiritual refresh. So it says the most prominent connection between 50 and restoration stems from ancient scripture, right? Every 50 years, the Israelites observed a year of Jubilee, right? And it says, remember the debts would be thrown out, right? The slaves are freed, right? The lands, and remember the lands, they returned, right? So that Pentecost goes back into that, restoring of the land, right? And that's what, we have to have that spirit continually, man, right? Because this is husbandry, right? This is about husbandry, right? And tilling the ground, right? And we're not, Edomites, right? This is Genesis, because from the beginning, it's about there's a garden, man, right? The garden, right? The pit, the landmass, right? So this is Genesis 2, and I'll start from verse, see that, 8. It says, and the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And then again, right? Adam is just the chosen Adam, right? So let me jump down to verse 15. It says, and the Lord God took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it, right? So that's husbandry, right? That's called husbandry, right? And just some information on that, right? So it says husbandry in ancient Israel, husbandry, or even in the ancient Levant, right? Husbandry in ancient Israel was a cornerstone of the economy and daily survival, primarily based on small-scale, self-sufficient household units rather than mass commercial trade. It relied on mixed pastoral system where livestock provided vital food, your milk, your honey, and your meat, right? And labor for plowing and transport, materials, wool, and certain livestock, right, that were used to Even it talks about the threshing floors, man. Right? You know. So the Bible really goes. See that pork consumption was extremely rare, right? But now we just throw that one away, right? So again, the scriptures is about husbandry, right? And the tilling of the ground, the planting, the sowing seeds, right? So let me get another precept on it, right? Because our whole role, right, in this truth, is what, man? To pull down the strongholds, man. And if you pull down the strongholds, right, you literally, you're cutting down stuff, man. And that's the sowing seeds, right? So Pentecost is as much as it is, yeah, it's a righteous day, right? It's a holy day, holy convocation, no buying, no selling, right? Yeah, it's a day of understanding the agricultural side of how Israel uh operated in the ancient world, right? So this Jeremiah 1:10, see, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out, right? And if you know anyone that does gardening, then you root out, you kind of kill the weeds, you kind of get that thing, and you're chopping out the hedge of the garden, right? To pull down and to destroy and to throw down and to build and to plant, right? See that? So again, and that the brother was going into when you read verse 9, it says, then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. Like, he's speaking the words of the Lord, man. And with those words, right, what was he doing, man? And he was building up, he was sowing seeds, right? He was sowing seeds, right? Planting the seeds. Because, hey, circle right, man. Hey, he plants seeds as well, man. What do you think he's doing? Right? Plant seeds, man. Right? Look at just a few. Because I searched some of these things that these people do, right? So there's these devils, man. Right? They always want to hinder. And if you stop people's water, you stop them from growing crops. Hey, what do you think happens? Hey, you can starve them out. Right? So this is on the Gates Foundation. Right? So it says their purpose. And this just looking at this is just suspect, right? This is what look the purpose to initiate development of a self-limiting tick for sustainable control of the tropical cattle tick, Rhipicephalus, right? Even that's off, right? Rhipicephalus, microplus, right? This is probably some kind of, right? Let's see this. You see that? See that? So
Madness.
mad, like
Some super bed bug or something.
oh, you see that in your house, you have to blow down the whole house, right? So look what it says. It says the friendly, look at it say the friendly cattle tick program by Oxitec and the Rosalind Institute is developing the world's first self-limiting strain of the tropical cattle tick. So how you know they're devils, man? It's like a bioweapon, right? So a self-limiting gene engineered into ticks facilitates the production of male-only cohorts. So he's devils, man, right? So they sow seeds of of just evil, right? We got another precept. That's like, who thinks about that? Yeah, let's make a damn what I've never even seen anything like this in my life, right? Let's make this, and apparently there's a thing going around, right? They're saying, right, in America, I haven't seen it here yet. Apparently they got these ticks. These ticks, they bite the meat, right? And this is somebody's obviously made this, but they're saying about you bite the tick bites the meat now, or look at this. So we were trying to read it. One tick bite and the steak becomes poison. This is happening to Americans right now. So apparently people are seeing, there's video, people are seeing these helicopters, they're flying over and they're dropping boxes. They're dropping boxes of ticks, man. Ticks are walking on the ground. one like bites. Imagine you're a farmer. Some tick bites your cows, starts biting up all the cows. Now the meat, the quality loses. That's why this guy's buying up all the damn land, man. Right? I thought he was to do with technology. Now he's buying up the land. Right? See that? So the end game, what when you can't eat real meat anymore, what will be left? The Bill Gates lab grown meat is a solution. They want you to accept. See that? So you gotta check your surroundings, right? They're saying stuff, man. A meat allergy, right? And he's got that damn he's got that mosquito thing. The mosquito what's that? Right? Bill Gates. Right? Mosquito farm. Right? He's got a mosquito farm. Right? God knows for why. But you know, these nations, right? They right? They got ideas, man. Right? Their ideas, they're planting just like we're trying to plant and sow seeds and push the word out. Right? They're doing exactly the same. Right? They're doing everything to hinder so you don't even make it to C50. Right? Now some ticks walking through your back garden. Right? You get bit. Oh, what the hell is that? Right? So this is the book of Second Corinthians 11, and I'll start from verse 14. It says, I no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light, right? Because an angel is just a messenger. An angel, you know, and you have angels on the left hand side and on the right hand side. So these nations, they got their functionalities that they're working on as well, right? So it says, therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So we're trying to push the word, and they're pushing their word as well. They're sowing their seeds, right? And they're sowing seeds in people's heart, right? Okay, one more and I'll pass it, right? So they're sowing seeds too, man. They're putting ticks down. You're walking through somewhere in London, somewhere in your leg. Now you can't eat chicken anymore. You start coughing. Oh, I can't eat chicken. You're allergic to red meat, right? Now you can't eat. Now you can't keep the Passover. So you see how Satan works, man, right? Satan works, right? Because that's see that. Now you're allergic to the lamb. That's off.
Mm-hmm.
Now Christ kind of like how about you kind of looking down saying, see, he's allergic to the lamb. Right? Now you're without the camp. Right? This is Matthew chapter 13. And I'm gonna jump down because this literally tells you about this is basically the precept. This whole chapter basically explains the Bible. Let's put it like that. Like the sower, right, being really the prophets, the women, the righteous women that are pushing the word, right? And you got Satan. Satan buffeted Paul, right? But nonetheless, it says this is see that I got kind of a jump through it. It's Matthew 13 and 19. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked. Who's the wicked one? Right? And yes, the wicked one. Oh yeah, Satan. Yeah, hey, that's the Edomites, man. So-called white man. Right? Straight up and down. Now he's stopping you from. He's turning off your internet, man. Now the live starts glitching. Right? And catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received the seed by the wayside. So we stand out at camp. We trying to teach the word. Now Edom just round. We talking to a brother last time. Some demon just popped up. He's just standing there, looking like this. And brothers, I told the brothers, I see these guys just turn up. We teach you the word. We'll tell you you're an Israelite, and they come along trying to just hinder the word, right? So, and that shows you, they have seeds that they sow too, right? So this is Revelation. See that? This is Matthew 13 and 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field, right? And us being the children of Israel, we're that good seed, right? We're that good seed, right? And let it be fruitful and multiply, right? It says, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way, right? So it says, but when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then have it tares? So where the hell did these where these Edomites come from? Where these? Because even you have our own people, hey, they're tares as well. So they're not, no, they're everyone. They're all good wheat. No, they're not. Right? Hey, you say, oh yeah, Judas. Hey, yeah, he was good. He was good wheat. Right? He was that good seed. No, he wasn't. Right? I pulled up John. I told you. Hey, he said, why was it this sold for money? Right? So literally reading on, it says, I'm gonna jump down. See, it says verse 30. It says, let both grow together until the harvest. See that in that harvest, his brother went into it. That's the end of the world. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together the first tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. And the barn, like it says in Psalms 15, and read, that's going into that tabernacle, right? Right. Psalms 15, it says, who shall dwell, you know, paraphrasing greatly, near my tabernacle, man? Right? The man that, and it tells you the characteristics of those that are going to be gathered into that barn, man. Because the tabernacle was a place of safety, but obviously not everyone could enter into that anyway, right? And you would present your sacrifice, to the door, which is your house shy, right? But point being that the world is literally that garden, right? Where there's the seed that's sown, there's the evil seed, there's the good seed, man, right? And they're gonna be let them grow together, and they're gonna be cut asunder, right? They're gonna be literally cut, and that's why your house, I would say your house, Jesus Christ, he's so, oh my gosh, like, and wow, hey, he's coming back to reap the earth, right? But you got it, King.
Yeah, can't. And just quick one, Matthew 7 and verse 20. Matthew 7 and verse 20, and it reads, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. So again, going with the tares and that, the wheat and the tares, like, if you had tares among your crop, like that's a disaster, isn't it? You don't want no tares. You want a real nice grain, Tares, it's gonna be all like deformed, ripped, it's not gonna be like, and that's how it is in when you grow crops and that, you want a decent plant, like when you start seeing, leaves all eaten up, turning yellow, that's a form of like, deformity on the plant, that's going to show you that, even that's going to show you the root ain't even good, because the whole plant is a representation of the root. Do you know what I'm saying? And so just going into like what the brother was saying about like the tares as well, So this is Hosea chapter 10 and verse 13. And it reads, Hosea 10:13, it says, ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. So, when you like trust in your own, you feel like you've got this, you trusting in the men of this world, the system, you're eating the fruit of their lies, and this is what the brother was going into with this whole Bill Gates, like all these rich rulers, these elites that just want to do whatever they can to just speed up the process you know, like it says in a Revelation 12 and 12, like they're just trying their best to push out as much wicked on the earth because they know their time's nearly up. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And what are they doing? They're defiling the earth. Like how we're supposed to keep land Sabbaths, how we're supposed to have
Right.
uncircumcised
Fruit.
fruits like lands for like 3-4 years. These lot are just raking it in constantly. And even when you look into it, like the America, they don't grow much. Their yield rate is not high. Do you know what I mean? A lot of lands, their yield's not high. It's because of Isaiah 24 and verse I'll start at 4. Yeah, Isaiah 24 and verse 4. It says, "The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish." So yeah, the world's like it says in Ezra's, I think it's second Ezra's, where it's talking about the world and how over time it's waxed worse and worse. You know, that would be like the land too. The land, back then a cluster of grapes it took two men to carry. Do you know what I'm saying? A cluster of grapes, and even like the animals were a lot bigger back then. So it's just showing you the earth's fading away. And why is that? It's because the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. And remember, Esau's blessing was that he rules the earth in and the fatness of it. And if you carry verse 5 as well, Isaiah 24 verse 5, it says, "The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof,
Mm,
because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant."
mm,
These covenants wasn't just given to us, they were given to all man, you know, land Sabbaths, you know, dealing with the fruits, the offerings, the land. All of this wasn't just given to us. The whole, all the children of men and the sons of God were all given these ordinances of the land, and who broke it first? It would have been Cain, innit? Cain broke that ordinance first by offering fruits when he was supposed to offer the firstling of the flock, you know. So, and just one more as well, one more, because yeah, these devils, man, they know what they're doing still. Like, all this technology, like even you see, like I don't know if you see that thing that I posted in the thing about the
abs-
Avatar thing. Yeah, like then they had all this. You watch all these old films, they had all this stuff already. This is Psalms chapter 64. I'm gonna read just a few of this, and I'll leave it on that still. Yeah. So Psalm 64 and verse 1. It says, "Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy." Says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." So those workers of iniquity would be your elite men, even certain governments, because they have to take on the same orders that these elites do in the background, like the banking families and all that. Verse 3, it says, "Who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words." What they're talking about. Like, you got China talking about they want to make a new sun and stuff like this. You got flipping um Bill Gates talking about he wants to, have all the land so that he can, feed the people, but really he's trying to kill them. Even same with the them going into Africa, the Gates Foundation. They're
right.
going in, they're drugging up all you know what I'm saying, Hamites and Israelites. Do you know what I'm saying? They don't care. Do you know what I mean?
There's
Um,
persons in them.
Yeah, no respect to person, even with themselves. That it shows you that in Deuteronomy, where they have no regard for the old or the young, you know. This is verse 4. It says, verse 4, it says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. And they're doing all this in a secret council. They're doing it all secretly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you said, they have they just like we had priests, you know, that will offer up our offerings to the Most High. They have witches and warlocks that they will offer up to the spiritual demons, Satan. That's why they're in the position that they're in, you know. So just a couple more. It says, verse 5, it says, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? And they've been doing it. This ain't new.
Right.
None of this is new. They were doing it. What's it? Balak. Was it Balak? Yeah, the king Balak. He was doing it. He was trying to get Balaam to curse the children of Israel. So, so he was doing it, even in Numbers.
Right.
So it's nothing new under the sun. Verse 6, it says, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. Just like you said, what sort of person will think about putting some sort of madness in a tick to
Right.
like kind of put it into the meat? And this is what I'm saying. So this is the enemy that we're dealing with, you know, and this same enemy, like you brought out, has transferred themselves into an angel of light. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? And just not to digress on this whole topic, but even down to like our holy days and our feast days, they accomplish a diligent search to keep us from keeping the feast days as well. You know, they do everything they can to kind of shift the calendar, shift the days. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Just so that we can't keep the feast. Do you know what I mean? Because they know this. You know, if you think if Amalek knows about it and they're keeping their days and they're jumping around like madman, do you
Right.
think that elites who actually rule everything don't know what's really going on? They know that this is the time of the wheat harvest in Jerusalem, and we keep everything according to Jerusalem. The time that we keep is according to Jerusalem. So wherever you was, all over in all around Europe, all going into Africa, your time stamp would be Jerusalem, But yeah, that's why it's important for us to keep these feasts and to measure the times and to know exactly, we're not in Israel right now. We don't know what's actually happening in Jerusalem, but it's not far off. When the seasons start changing in Jerusalem, best believe it changes here too, not long after. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we know where we're at. We've got to watch the times, we've got to watch the seasons, watch the plants and the certain trees and that. Do you know what I mean? And that's how we that's offering a sacrifice to the Most High. Just remembering what we're supposed to be doing by keeping these feasts and in the time that they're appointed. But you got it, King.
And even on that point, I had a brother saying like people, because so you might see some scoffers. I see some scoffers in comments sometimes, and they'll say about like seen someone say something about agriculture. Like you said, don't you trying to base your idea or what's going on based upon what you're seeing in damn England or in America, right? Obviously, it's not gonna resonate with that's a whole different tropic that,
Hmm.
so the way things grow, they've damn already poisoned the half of the country of America. The air is flying over and there's stuff's coming out of the air, right? The fake clouds, right? Some gas CO2 emissions or whatever the hell these people put in the air, right? People are coughing, we can't breathe. They've already done that in those places. So trying to govern it and say, okay, look, see, the things, the fruit hasn't It hasn't come off, or it hasn't grown. Well, you're in America. You're not in the land. You're not in Goshen, man, right? Or you're not in the land of Yasharallah, right? You're not there. You're not in Greater Israel, right? So just real quick as well, right? Lord willing, right? Just go to some more precepts, Lord willing, right? But this is Second Corinthians, right? 10, and you can't quench the spirit, right? You know, so you can't quench the spirit. I say, no, 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 you can't quench the spirit, man, right? So this is Second Corinthians 10 and verse 4. It says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds." And again, those strongholds are what? Those seeds that are sown in your mind, man, right? The seeds of evil, unrighteousness, antichrist spirit, right? OTO, and that's a stronghold. Hey, that's been pulled down, right? The brother, we told him to go look at the notes. Hey, Lord willing, the brother comes back, man, right? They may kind of fell out the truth. Hey, the spirit that we're pushing out is what? The pulling down of strongholds. That's power. That's the power that, and those are those strongholds. That's what? That's unclean spirits, man. You have the power to pull that down, right? Through the word, right? Therefore, we hate every false way, right? So asking people, well, what's the moral compass? Nah, they don't know. Yeah, what I think it is. Hey, that's that evil seed that was really sown in your heart, because you didn't have any root, right? And just a quick precept, you didn't have any root, man, right? A quick precept showing that we are that seed, right? We're that good seed. So this is Second Ezra 3, and I'll start from verse. Yeah, let's see. It's all about planting. I'm just gonna jump down through it. The way Second Ezra 3 and 6, and thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand, which is obviously Yahushai, had planted before ever the earth came forward. See that? So Yahushai he planted, right? Right, and that's what we're doing. We're planting the spirit of Yahweh Shai in the earth, man. Through what we say, what we're teaching, the uploads, brothers doing videos, sisters doing this, doing that, right? In righteousness, right? Jumping down. It said to verse like 19. It says, this is Second Ezra 3 and verse 19. It says here, it says, and thy glory went through the four gates of fire, and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. So that seed, right, that good seed, right, is a seed of Jacob, right? It says, and yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart. That, and a wicked heart is your mind, right? Because we in our nature, hey, sin. Like Paul said, hey, the thing that I want to do, hey, I don't do that, right? That thy law might bring forth fruit in them. And fruit, like the Bible went into Matthew 7, we're known by what we do, by our actions, right? Because that's what the law is supposed to bring. And that's how you know these Christians, man, they don't keep the law, right? By their faith, right? I'm not saying all of them, right? But some of them, a very large majority of them. No, I don't want to wear trousers. I don't want to put my fringes on. I don't want to stop eating pork. Deuteronomy 12, see what it says, verse 22. You're trying to show them in the Hebrew. Look, King. No. What Bible is that? Right? So the law brings forth fruit. And what did Christ say? What did Christ say? Right? What did he say? Right? Matthew 3 and verse, well, that's John. Right? But John is coming in the spirit of what Yahweh would have taught anyway. This is Matthew 3. And I'll start from verse 7. It says, but when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come. And what's the wrath to come? The harvest. The That's the wrath to come. It's the harvest, right? It says, "Bring forth therefore fruit." It said fruits, meat for repentance. So the what does the law do? It says that thy law might bring forth fruit in them. So doing the law is the fruits that you're supposed to bring forth for your faith. Someone that doesn't keep the commandments, what? They don't have faith. They don't have faith. Oh, no. Or they need their faith built up, man. Right? That's what they need. Right? That's why it says about letting them grow together. Then the tares are going to be taken, right? And the wheat is going to be gathered. Right? Reading on. Is it this one? Did I want this? Right? There's a bit more on that as well, actually. Right? Looking specifically in that second Ezra 3. Right? Second Ezra 3. See that second Ezra 4. So like it. This is second Ezra 4. You know, going into the whole grains and the planting and the seeds and all of this, man. This is second. See that? See that? So, and the Bible is just amazing, right? I really wanted verse 40, but when you know, no, I read 10 verses, right? I'm not gonna read 10 verses though, right? I say, but was that camp? Brother say, yeah, we will be all right all day, right? But this is second Ezra 4:30. It says, "For the grain of evil seed have been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning, and how much ungodliness have it brought up unto this time, and how much shall it yet bring forth until the time of threshing come?" What's the time of threshing? Right? The time of threshing. See the threshing floor, right? Instead of fresh prince. The threshing floor. Right? The threshing floor, and that's where they will kind of get rid of everything that they don't need. That's the threshing floor. Right? They don't need this. Okay, that's rubbish. We don't need that. So the threshing floor, a specially prepared flat surface. See that the earth's flat, right? But see that you can't use that, right? There's traditionally made of packed dirt, stone, or wood, used by farmers to what? Separate the grain from inedible husks, which is what? The chaff. Right? And I believe there's precepts it tells you, and they're gonna be burnt up like chaff. You know? So when you read in the Bible's not just some madness. And this is the threshing floor, right? That's spiritual. See that? And it's a circle, right? That's the earth. Right? But the farmer, right, he would have a fork, right? And a fork, and he would get rid of the rubbish husks, man. Right? See that? Right, so look, the winnowing fork, you see that? Why are they making it small like that, though, man? Right? But that's the winnowing fork, right? They would take that, right, and then get rid of, hey, this is rubbish. Get rid of that. That's what the Most High, boss, is going to do with the nations, right? Even put a precept there, right? Luke 3. What was that? That's in Matthew. I can keep reading. Look, Lord willing, I think it is. This is about a fan, right? This is Matthew 3. See that? This is Matthew 3, and I'll start from verse 10. "And now also the axe is laid onto the root of the trees," going still agricultural. But man is tree as well, right? "Therefore, every tree which bringeth forth not good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire." It says, I'm gonna jump down. Here we go. See that? Matthew 3:12. "Whose fan is in his hand." Right? It's saying, okay, yeah. It's saying that you're some Eve, man, with a damn, right? You know, those things, man, right?
Things that just flick out, innit?
Right. Like with like Bumpy Johnson, right? You say, yeah. Right? It's not talking about this either. Right? Oh yeah, that's the best one. This one, the speed, it goes up to 5. Right? Madness, right? It's not talking about a hand fan. right? The Moabite woman carries, and she opens up like it's fast. What's that movie, man?
And
Rush
it's
Hour.
got the mad patterns and that. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
got the what's it that what's that the evil eye and that with the
madness.
yeah, see?
See
Madness.
that? Nagasaki and that, the waters, right?
Like a
Yes,
peak pattern or something.
yeah, yeah. The lotus flower, the blossom, right? It's not talking about that, right? Really, right? I want to see if I can get it here, right? That was Matthew 3 and 12, right? So Matthew 3 and 12. Let's see what that is. So this is all going into what, man? End of the world, right? This is going into the end of the world. Who's fan, right? I believe it. So say, anyway. See that? A winnowing shovel. So the winnowing shovel, right, is used for what? Are you just playing games, right? Right? Is it just fan in the air? Right? The winnowing shovel is to do what? You're getting, look, separate grain from lightweight chaff. The Bible's agricultural, man. So it says Matthew 3 and 12, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor. And what's that floor? Right? That's the threshing floor. Right? This is a beautiful image. Let's see if it comes up. I don't know why they're making it so small for me, man.
Yeah.
Satan.
It's madness.
See that? Let's see. Alright, you can deal with this. So that's the winnowing shovel, right? Where they would use that, right, and then they'll get rid of this is dead. We don't need this. Throw that away, right? So that's the winnowing shovel, whose fan is in his hand, and he will thoroughly purge his floor and gather his wheat into the garner. Really, that's like a chariot, right? Because a remnant's going to be taken up, right, in those chariots, man. But will burn up the chaff with unquenchable fire. So that, them other nations, even Israel, they're going to burn up with the chaff, right, with unquenchable fire. Right? So why would you say that? And that's the Bible, man. Right? And let's see if I can. Right, let me get Isaiah when I pass it. Right, it's Isaiah 41. Right? Isaiah 41 and verse number 14. So Isaiah 41 and verse 14. It said, fear thou not, thou worm Jacob. See that? Right? Thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Right? Behold, I will make a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. Right? Like it's a precept, I think it says, what's it say, man? The bare precepts are coming to my head now, man. In Revelation, right? You know what it says? I think it's like 22. It says like, there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? That, right? Maybe 22, right? It says that, in utter darkness, it says that there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? Let me see, man. Right? I'm typing in captain. Yeah, Matthew 25. Right? That's a good one. Going into the unprofitable servant, right? It says, look, even Matthew 13, going to that same parable of the garden and the world being like, and the seed being planted. It says Matthew 13 and 25 and 50, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. And what's that? Right? We were reading it, right? We read it in Matthew 3 and 12. Right, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. So going back to that in Isaiah 41, it says, behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument. Because the old one, Yahushua kind of said, yeah, this is a bit blunt. Yeah, I got down earlier. This is not really it. Right? Kind of doing that. He's doing that, and it's sparking up. Right? And he's treading the wine press as well. Right? He's sparking it up. Right? This is a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth, thou shalt thresh the mountains, and the most of the mountains, man, the mountains of the nations. I said, oh, it's not. It's the why are we threshing? Why are we? Are you going to Mount Kilimanjaro? Right, you just go to Mount Kilimanjaro. Oh, hold on, you're just doing this on Mount Kilimanjaro. Now you're going to damn some Mount Fiji, right? Or the Alps, right? You know you I say, oh, yeah, you're gonna fresh the Alps and right, Mount Vesuvius, right? All these that you know you're fresh in the mountain. What's the mountain, man? Right, I mean that's going into waters, right? But the mountains and the mountains of the nations, right? Oh, how do you know that? Why I thought mountains? Hey, what does it say? That the in Jeremiah, right? See that?
Yeah.
This is Jeremiah 2:23. Truly in vain is salvation hoped for from the hills and from the multitude of nations. Truly in the Lord our God is the salvation of Israel. Meaning what? From the other nations, hey, it's vain for them to hope they're gonna get salvation.
Mm.
You say, oh, what about my uncle? Right, my uncle, right? He's a Edomite. Well, hey, he's cooked. Right? They're gonna the Bible said I didn't say this, right? It's like, okay, you said this, oh my, no, the Bible said that the nations they're gonna be first, right? It says, and another precept, right? Just real quick, I'm showing you that the mountains are the nations, right? Luke 21:24, right? Luke, I think it's Luke 21:24.
I got one as well.
But you got Matthew.
Nah.
I know there's one in Matthew.
Habakkuk. There's one in Habakkuk.
What's that? There's one in there's one in I think might be Matthew. See that now? Put mountains. Right? A New Testament only. Where's that? Right? Yeah, see that? Matthew 24:16. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains, which is what? That's the other nations. Showing you that this is Christ is obviously speaking about the downfall of the kingdom of Israel going into 70 AD. They then went into the other nations, right? Saying, oh, they're back in the land. What precept, right? What show me the precept? Oh yeah, the Talmud, the part where it says that you could take an underage child. That's the verse they'll use to say that. But it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that, okay, they're gonna go back. Okay, yeah. Right? So it says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. So straight up and down, right? Back to Isaiah, and then I'll pass it. It says, I actually got one more. Right? Brother says, share the precepts. Share the precepts.
No,
Right?
you're good. You're good.
This is Isaiah 41:15. I'll read it again. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. The mountains, the hills, the waters, and these are going into what nation? Right? And it's probably my favorite. Like, I just read the Bible and you're like, hold on. Why don't the pastors read this? Why don't they even read these verses? Right? It said, read that verse. Remember, it said that they shall beat them small. Right? This is Psalms 18. Right? This is just madness. Right? This is Psalms 18. And this is the seed being sown now, man. This is we're sowing people say, oh, you're reading from Psalms, you're not teaching Christ. Say, oh no, that's the Old Testament, you're not teaching Christ. This is the word, this is Christ. I say, oh, that's all, yeah. This is the word, man. This is Psalms 18. See that? And verse 40. It says, we have to read it so we can all see the whole sentence on the screen. Thou hast also given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate. But tell your pastor to read that, man, with his long church shoes, right? Tell him to break that down, right? They cried, but there was none to save them. Because what? Because salvation is hope. They hope for salvation. But we read that in Jeremiah 2 and 3 and 23. And they don't get it.
Mm.
Even unto the Lord, but he answered them not. They're trying to call out. You got a Moabite man, right? He taking off his small size 5. He's a grown man as well, right? He's a grown man. He's like 40. He's wearing size 5, right? He's taking off his taking off his size 5. He's praying. He's doing that, right? And we don't know where that comes from. We don't know where this sign comes from, though. But he's doing that, and he said, "Oh, dear Jesus," and but he answered them not, right? But he answered them not. That's the Bible. So that's it. That's the Bible. This is the point. Verse 42, right? Then did I beat them, small as the dust before the wind. I did cast them out as dirt in the streets. And that's Isaiah 40, right? Verse 17, right? But you got it, King.
Yeah, can't. I'll get 2 precepts on the nations as well as a thing. So, Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 6. This is Habakkuk 3 and verse 6. It says, "He stood and measured the earth. He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting." So yeah, that's not talking about no mountains and hills. It's just referring to, the other nations being like mountains and hills, basically. And I've got another one. This Ezekiel 6 and verse 3. It says, Ezekiel 6 and verse 3, it says, "And say, ye mountains of Israel," so saying that we're the mountain, like that Israel is the mountain, "hear the word of the Lord God. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys. Behold, even I will bring a sword upon you and will destroy your high places." So yeah, again, like even rivers and valleys, the Most High is referring to as other nations and that are going to be beaten down like the chaff. And again, it's always going into like agriculture. It's like if you didn't have an understanding of these things, even a basic understanding, it'll be hard to break down these parables in the Gospels, because most of it is actually to do with husbandry. Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to know that. I got a Psalms. I got a famous one. Psalms chapter 1. Psalms chapter 1 and verse 1. No, I'll start at 2. So Psalms 1 and verse 2, it says, "But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." But then here's the point as well. Verse 4, "The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away." So it's showing you that even like here it's talking about the righteous now being referred to as trees that are planted by that living waters, that, like the banks that we was talking about earlier, like the Jordan and the Nile, where the banks overflow in harvest time, so anything growing around there would have been really rich, but again, the ungodly, meaning these other nations, even our own people, they'll be like the chaff, which the wind driveth away, man. And that chaff is that, like the dust, like the dust of the balance, really, like it says, I think in Isaiah 40. When you put dust on the scales, it doesn't weigh anything, it could just be blown away. Do you know what I mean? That's what the Most High is referring these ungodly people to. And I got one more as well. So um, Isaiah 61. So we know Isaiah 61 is what Christ stood up and read in in the synagogue about the gospel, basically, you know. But I want to start from two. I'll start from two. So it says, so Isaiah 61 verse 2, it says, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. So that acceptable year is going to be like, you would say, like, you could put it spiritual, like the year of jubilee, in the
Mm.
sense, like, you know, that year where it's all refreshed, you know, where the land gets a replenish. You get what I'm saying? That's basically that year, which is not it is. Hey, that's the day of the Lord, isn't it? That's that after the summer. Do you know what I mean? After that summer where, you know, he's going to be judging everything, you know? Verse 3, verse 3, it says, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be glorified. You know, so again, everything is based on us being trees, you know, righteous trees, you know, even like in Mark, I believe, Mark 6, you know, the blind man said, you know, I see men as trees walking, you know, so that's and again, what do trees bear? They bear fruit. You know what I'm saying? So if your root is out and your root is off, you know what I mean, you're gonna be, you know, like there's a precept where it says as well about you know, like if the tree's not giving forth much fruit after a few years, you gotta kind of get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? You're kind of just hoarding like dead weight, basically. If your tree ain't harvesting, ain't bringing forth fruit, you have to get rid of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, even this, um, yeah, even this Matthew 7 and verse 17, or no, yes, 18.
See that? No, 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 no.
No, start from here. Start from here. So Matthew 7:17.
Salaki. I thought you to say that.
Killing
Go.
me. Even so, yeah, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. And the reason being is because it's based on the root. You
Mm.
know, everything is the root is the foundation. If your roots are off, then more than likely your fruit and your trees off. You know what I'm saying? So verse 18, it says, a good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Again, how can a tree be corrupt? Could be either his root system, like his stems, his leaves. They could be, you know, this is why on a spiritual vibe, we need to kind of get, not just understand it, but even try and get into it. Like the bro brought out at the beginning, you know, allotments. If you can get anywhere to grow stuff, like it's good to do that, man, because you can see something go from a seed to fruit. Do you know what I'm saying? And obviously, it's the increase is all of the Most High. So I got two more precepts, and I'll pass it. So this is as Sirach 35 and 1. Yeah, Sirach 35 and verse 1. It says, he that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering. So if you're keeping the commandments, that is your offering. That's your word and deed that you're doing, and it, you know, to the Most High, that would be like a peace offering. So verse 2, it says, he that requiteth a good turn offereth fine flour, and he that giveth alms sacrifice praise. So even, you know, giving alms, you know, that's another way of sacrificing praise. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll skip to 4, verse 4, it says, "Thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord." So the Most High does not want you to be empty before Him, and it's not literally either, because if you're, you not keeping the commandments is like coming empty before the Most High. So really, you want to build up those sacrifices, those praise by keeping your commandments. That would be your offering towards the Most High, you know. So I'll read a few more verses down. It says 5. It says, "For all these things are to be done because of the commandment. The offering of the righteous maketh the altar fat, and sweet savor thereof is before the Most High." That's how we know as well, because everything that we offer to the Most High, He takes it as a sweet savor. That's how He receives our offerings. It's by that smoke, that smell. And the offering of the righteous is made fat. That's the fat on the altar, like it says in Revelations, with the prayers of the saints. When we're offering off up them prayers and that righteousness, it makes us the altar fat. And so verse 7, it says, "The sacrifice of a just man is acceptable, and the memorial thereof shall never be forgotten." So a just man, we know what that's talking about. It's not hard. We're not Christians out here. Just man is he that keepeth the law. Because it says a just man falleth 7 times, but and getteth back up. Paraphrasing, but the wicked will fall into mischief. So you need to, obviously we're gonna go off. We're gonna have them days, but you still need to strive to be just. And verse 8, it says, "Give the Lord His honor with a good eye, and diminish not the first fruits of thine hands." So yeah, when you're giving as well, you can't be having that evil eye. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't be giving thinking, oh, like just like there's a precept as well. I can't I can't think of it. Like when you do good and you give to someone, you shouldn't have that mindset of, oh, do you know what I mean? Like I'll give it, I don't really want to give it to you, never give it back, or that mindset. It's evil, man. You need to give willingly, just like how you give your offerings to the Most High as a free will offering. You're supposed to give that same vibe to your brother. Do you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'll read 2 more verses. No, 3 more verses. Verse 9, it says, "In all thy gifts show a cheerful countenance." Again, like I was saying, you got to show your countenance cheerful when you're giving. And it says, "And dedicate thy tithes with gladness." Not with that, that was it that burden vibe, like I gotta give alms, that's wicked. Do you know what I'm saying? That's all still. And the Most High, he sees this, man. Do you know what I'm saying? He sees this. We know that he sees this. And it says, verse 10, it says, "Give unto the Most High according as he have enriched thee, and as thou hast gotten, give with a cheerful eye." Yeah, verse 11, it says, "For the Lord recompenseth and will give thee 7 times as much." So even with that, you give according to what the Most High has given you, and if you give with a cheerful countenance and give gladness, just how we were supposed to when we gave our offerings in Israel, in Jerusalem at the feast day, the Lord will recompense thee 7 times as much. So yeah, I mean, I got one more. And then I'll leave it on that. Still, where is it? Slack it. I had it, but let me. Yeah, at Sirach 7. This will be my last precept. Still, so this is Sirach 7. So again, we was going into the feast of first fruits, and really it is to do with with agriculture, husbandry. You know, obviously, not everybody is in that position to be doing that, but you know, advise, you know, or the Most High advises, you know, to get involved in this, man. If you can, grow some stuff, you know, understand how the seasons work, you know, and yeah. So this is Sirach 7 and verse 15. Sirach 7 and verse 15 says, hate not laborious work, neither husbandry, which the Most High have ordained. You know, and even me right now, like, you know, me and the rib, we're trying to get some fruits going. It can be hard, man, you know, digging up the ground, doing all that. It is hard work, but the Most High ordained it, man. So we're not meant to hate it, you know? So yeah, can't.
All right, man. And like the brother's saying, man, hey, if you don't, there's many points though, but it is go to one, right? Because you're saying about the tree, right? Because a man is a tree, right? If his root is off, right, you finished.
Mm.
This is Job 14 and 7. For there is hope of a tree if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Right? Is Job just oh yeah, and that's that language of a metaphor, right? Because you can a tree, you know, you kind of have to cut it and you put some stuff on the stump so it doesn't kind of grow back, right? So again, there is hope of a tree if it be cut down. We read Matthew 7, you know, that it will sprout again and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Because that's going into your regeneration as well, right? Because your seed, it comes back, right? You come back through that same lineage, right? It says verse 8, though the root wax, it's like it, Job 14 and 8, though the root thereof wax old in the earth and the stock thereof die in the ground. It says, yet through the scent of water, it will bud and bring forth boughs like a plant. And what's that water, man? What's that water that we need to make us what bud, right? Or bring forth boughs like a plant. Right? That's that living waters, man. Right? This is reading on verse number 10. It says, but man dieth. So now he's just kind of juxtaposition. Right? But man dieth and waiteth away, yea, man giveth up the ghost, and where is he? Right? So, you know, see that showing you, right? Reading on as well, there's more to this. It says, as the waters fail from the sea, and the flood decayeth and drieth up, so man lieth down and riseth not, till the heavens be no more. They shall not awake nor be raised out of their sleep. Right? So again, right, and a man, right, you know, he doesn't just he's just dead and that's it. Right? That's that. Read Wisdom of Solomon too, I believe. Right? Tells you about, you know, the foolish man, he thinks, okay, well, this is it. This is it for me. Right? You have a judgment that you gotta face, man. It says verse 13, oh, that thou wouldest hide me in the grave, that thou wouldest keep me secret until thy wrath be past. And that's that what? That harvest. That thou wouldest appoint me a set time and remember me. Right? And you remember Yahweh Shimi Hawashai, right? What did Yahweh Shai say to what did he say to Jonathan? Right? He said, behold, right? This is John 1 and 46. I'll start from verse 47. Yahushua saw Nathanael coming to him and saith of him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Because why did he say that? Because he remembered him. It says, Nathanael saith unto him, whence knowest thou me? Yahushua answered and said unto him, before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee. How do you know? How do you know he has no guile with him? Because he remembered him. Yahushua remember, Yahweh Shai, he created the spirits, man. right? That's why these certain men they join themselves onto them, right? The seed and the spirit that Yahweh was he sowed. Hey, these were the spirits of the elect, man. They click. They say, "I all praises," right? So, like the brother brought out, man, right? If you don't labor, right? You don't labor. You're gonna be, you be asking, oh, right? Asking for food. You're asking for food now, man. Brothers have, brothers kind of done this, and right? You watching the next man, right? You watching the next man, like, you tell me you're watching my man. Hey, put your hand to the plow, right? And that's it. The plow, right? Let's look at that. What's the plow, right? Today you have a big tractor. In ancient world, you would have had some madness. Because he's floating, right? But essentially, that plow, I believe that would turn over the ground for the seeds to be put. See, now they're saying Lindsay Lohan, right? Madness. They think it's a pub, right? Right. It says the foundation of the agricultural revolution evolving from the handheld digging stick into the heavy animal drawn tool. So you would break up the soil for planting, and that would what increase the food production. So the Egyptians, so called, right? Even in medieval times, right? That machine they used to, get the crops, man. Right? So it says Second Thessalonians, right? No, Second Thessalonians. I'll go back to them. All right. Don't be a sluggard, man. I don't want to labor. I don't want to. Hey, you're gonna be starving then, man. Remember in the book of Genesis, man. Hey, there was 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Right? So if you're not plowing and putting the seeds, right, the seeds out, right, remember, hey, in 7 years of in that 7 years of famine, they stocked up food, man. They stocked up enough so that those 7 years, right, could be they could be preserved. And who was that by the hand of? Hey, Joseph. Right, this is Proverbs 6:6. It says, let's see. This is Proverbs 6 and verse 6. It says, "Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer." And look what she does. "And gathereth her food in the harvest." Because even that goes into now your feast of ingathering. That's when they would have collected, okay, what they got. Because remember, now it's winter time. Ain't no, right? What's it? Planting seeds during winter, right? It's not really the best option, man. Right? Because it says you have to use greenhouses, right?
Oh, they're talking about in UK as well.
See that?
Try put Jerusalem on the end just to see.
See that artichokes. That's it.
Yeah, sunchoke. See, and I think I believe they're season that where you don't really eat. I believe I could be wrong. Sunchokes.
A bit. Let's remix it. So yeah, see, they say winter. You don't want to plant seeds in the winter, man, right? Because remember, the ground is hard, right? The ground is hard. You're trying to dig your damn shovel in, man, and you're stepping on the shovel. Remember, we used to kind of do some digging, man. You kind of have to put your boots onto the thing. You're trying to turn over the thing. You can't do it, man. Right? So, because this is what they say, and obviously, it's better to sow your seed during specific seasons. You don't want to just sow your seed any and everywhere, right? Because remember, some places A is stony ground, right? So like some places A is stony ground, right? It's not rooted, right? This is because remember the seed has to kind of embed itself in the ground, and then it kind of sprouts up like we read in Job, right? This is Job 14. Is it Job 14? This is Matthew 13:3. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprang up because they had no deepness of earth. If the ground and the soil was hard, how the hell is that seed supposed to take a root? Like just like in this truth, if your faith, you're not rooted, how the hell are you supposed to grow? Right? How are you supposed to grow? You don't have any root. There's no depth to you. You're just what's the word? One dimensional. Right? You're one dimensional and you're no saint. Right? You're no saint. It says, and when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And that sun that the brother went into, Job 30, right? Jonah 4, and I think you said it was like 13, I believe, right? Jeremiah 14, verse 2. That heat represents what? The affliction, judgment, right? Tribulation. That's what's going to wither you away. But you have to have depth, right? It says, can you gather your food in the harvest? But to gather food, and you got to work, right? Like it's brought out. Hate not laborious work, man. Oh, I don't want to be outside. I don't want to. And you got to feed the flock, man. Oh no, I don't want to feed them today. Kicking back. Now you got a wheat in your mouth, and saying, "Oh no," and you're spitting like one of them hillbillies, man. Right, hitting off the thing, but like in the movies, man. Right. So this is 2 Thessalonians 3:10. But even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat, man. If you're not working, right, shouldn't eat, right? Oh, nah, well, I deserve, hey, no, a man, you can't be a sluggard, man, right? Oh, no, I don't want to work. I let my rib do it. My rib can do it. My rib, shit, madness. Now your rib already has to deal with, they got all these wicked demonic things that they're trying to put into women. Actually, the back's aching. You're saying, oh no, you got this Ahab, right? You tell you got this Ahab, right? You tell you got this love, right? She's straining herself. She's giving the children milk as well, and at the same time she's working. You gotta stay at home, dad. It's madness, right? This is Proverbs 20 and verse 4. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. So he find any excuse, basically. Therefore shall he beg in the harvest and have nothing. So in the harvest time, he's gonna say, okay, start looking over next man's garden. Oh, you got some good artichokes, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you got some good artichokes, right? And you look over into his garden, right? And it's like a bando, man. It's run down, right? The dam. It's just there's no root in the ground. There's no depth, right? He's got all his damn luggage on the grass, right? There's nowhere to sow the seed, man, right? So a sluggard, he's gonna find any excuse, man, right? We get some kind of wide down, right? Good. Some closing precepts, right? This is Leviticus 19, because even that, when that harvest happened, how shy, and he's gonna leave us, right? He's gonna leave us the rest of the nation, man. Right? Because remember, he treads the winepress, right? Who is this that cometh from Bosra? Who is this that cometh from England, right? How shy is gonna go on tour, right? They say, okay, I'm waiting for Kanye. the Michael Jackson This Is It tour, right? Yahweh Shai is gonna go on tour, right? He's gonna do a concert. He's gonna do a concert. He's gonna do a concert in England, right? He's gonna do a concert in Scotland, right? He's gonna do a concert in Ireland, Northern Ireland, right? Then he's gonna go to uh, uh what they call it, man? The bottomless pit, right? And he's gonna take the whole band with him, right? Right. This is Leviticus chapter 19, and I'll start from verse number 9. It says, "And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest." So when you reap your land, and Yahweh Shai, Jesus Christ, right? Jesus, you might have not known this. You maybe just got on the live, and Jesus Christ is gonna reap the land. And when you reap the land, it doesn't. Remember, when you look at agriculture, the machines, they don't care what you are. The machine has no respect to person. The scythe or the sickle, it's not saying, okay, hold on, it's taking everything. Right? How Shai is not gonna say, okay, he's gonna scan you like it's just some damn airport biometric entering into damn Morocco, and they say, what's your name? What are you here for? He's not gonna ask you that. Hey, if you're in the way, you're gonna get airlifted, right? And he's gonna leave, because obviously, hey, the Israelites, hey, they're gonna have some leftovers, man, to devour the nations, right? Jeremiah 51, right? It says, "And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt what? Leave them for the poor and stranger and the Lord your God." So they're gonna the nations are all in it. Barshimi Al Shai, right? They leave us Bill Gates, man. Right? Leave us Bill Gates. You say?
Donald Trump,
Yeah.
Rockefellers and all that.
Elon Musk, right? Rockefeller, right? Like it's a long list, man. Tiberius, he's got to go. Epstein, right? Bring him back up, right? You get the Lady of Endor, you bring him back up. You say you're asking the Lady of Endor, you bring that guy back up. No, not in the spirit, in the flesh. I need him in the kingdom, right? Now you're saying, I don't know, man. There's many people, man. Tony Blair, bring up Tony Blair, Ken Livingston, right? Bring the guys that
Margaret.
See Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, man, devil. Churchill.
Yeah. No, what's the other one? And he done a speech. What's that guy, man?
What relevant? Like
yeah.
Tony Robinson. No, that's
Yeah.
even him as well. All of them devils, man.
This guy, fam. That's it. This guy. Rivers of Blood speech. What was his name again? You know who as well? That's it. Enoch Powell. Right? He done a racist speech. Right? Tommy Robinson. Right? Nigel Farage. Katie Hopkins. Right? Line them up, man. Because why would you say that's the Bible says that, man. Right? About you can't leave every grape. How should I? Because there's no fun for us then, isn't it?
For
right?
real.
Trying to get right, trying to get into this thing, right? What do you think we're going gym for? What do you think I'm taking the hikes for, right? But hey, all praise to the Most High, man. You got it, kid. Right?
Yeah, like the brother's going into, man. It's like, this is the end, man. This harvest season is Yahweh Shai, and all of it is to do with husbandry in it, So the harvest is going to be the end. The sun is going to be the affliction and the the judgment. Do you know what I'm saying? But then obviously there's a the wheat and the tares as well. So if you're the wheat, then you're all right. You're all right. Obviously the tares and the wheat get pulled up at the same time, but they get separated. And it's like he says, he's gonna put the sheep on the right hand side and the goats on the left. But I'll get Sirach. I'll get Sirach chapter 6 and verse. I'll start at 18. Sirach 6 and verse 18. It says, "My son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age." So yeah, man. Just the basic. We need to gather these instructions. What we need, how we need to serve the Most High, what we need to do, what's pleasing in His eyes. And we need to take that on board. Because then we'll find wisdom in our old age. So it says, verse 19. It says, so it's talking about wisdom. Verse 19. "Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth, and wait for her good fruits. For thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon." Again, showing that, all these parables and all these accounts of, like, wisdom, the end, it's all going into husbandry, and it's saying that, if it's referring to wisdom here. So if we come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth and wait for her good fruits and be patient, it says, "Thou shalt not toil much in laboring about her," and toiling, and tilling the ground and plowing the ground. It's a lot of work, man. A lot of, even like watering, pruning, all of this stuff to do with fruits is very laborious, should I say? Very laborious, and yeah, yeah. I'll read 20 as well. I'll finish on 20. It says, "She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. He that is without understanding will not remain with her." So yeah, man, we need to learn these things. This is basic 101, really. Like, just as we learn commandments, we need to learn that we have to have like an ancient mindset, an ancient Eastern mindset with all things. We have to kind of apply it to our life in these times, really. And yeah, that's it, really,
Trying.
on it.
Yeah, one more as well, man. And you know, we see the days approaching, man. Right. So, we will right? See that? This, see that? Like saying, hey man, all praise to the Most High. So this is Joel 3 and verse 10. It says, "Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither, cause thy mighty ones, so like it cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord." It says, "Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit and judge all the heathen round about." Right, and we'll see how Bashim and Shai going to do. It says, "Put in thy sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come,
Mm.
get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, the wickedness is great." Man. So, hey, man, straight up and down, the valley of Jehoshaphat, hey, man, it's going to be a movie. The nation's going to be gathered, right? They're queuing up, deciding that who's getting beaten up first, right? That's what's going down, man. They're saying, "Oh no, we don't know." Hey, that's the Bible, man. Right? That ripe, the harvest being ripe, meaning hey, it's ready. It's time. It's go time. Right? The press is full. When the press is full, now you got to gather that. Right? You got to gather that the fats is overflow. Hey, the best parts. Hey, this is it. Right? This is it, man. But hey, man, all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Washing me out, shy, man. Right? So, Lord willing, Lord willing, that was edifying, man. Going into Passover, going into first fruits, Feast of Pentecost. That was edifying, washing me out, shy. Right? So, praise to Yahweh, washing me out, shy. Shalom.
Shalom.